Lord, thank you for blessing us in such a beautiful way and on a daily basis, and for the opportunity we as a council have to do to work alongside our staff for the betterment of our city and for the citizens of St. Mary's who we serve. Lord, be with our men and women of the armed services who serve and protect our country, both home and abroad. Lord, we truly thank you for the employees of the city of St. Mary's. Keep them safe and guide them. Oh Lord, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, can we have our roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Jones, post 1.
I'm here.
Councilman Connor, post 2.
Present.
Councilman Ingram, post 3.
Here.
Councilman Nascimento, post 4.
Here.
Councilman Rassi, post 5.
Present.
Councilman Keene, post 6.
Here.
Mayor Lockhart.
I'm here, madam.
Sir, we have a quorum.
Yes, ma'am, and for the record, a unanimous vote is 6 tonight.
Yes, sir.
Our first item is the approval of our minutes from our August 18th council meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Nassman, a second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And in moving into our presentations, our first item is a recognition of our United States Coast Guard member. And I have on here that Mr. Lackner is going to do this, but I'm going to read it, okay? All righty. September 15th, 2025, ET-1 Austin Fairchild, United States Coast Guard. The City of St. Mary's, in conjunction with the St. Mary's Fire Department, believes strongly in recognizing outstanding service and dedication within our community. It is in this spirit that we take great pride in formally acknowledging your courageous actions on August 8th, 2025. At approximately 11:20 a.m., a fire was reported at 148 Ashwood Circle in St. Mary's. Upon arrival, fire crews encountered heavy fire and smoke conditions coming from the back right portion of the residence. Without hesitation, you entered the home and successfully assisted an 80-year-old woman and her dog to safety. Your rapid assessment of the emergency and decisive actions was instrumental in saving a life that day. The professionalism, bravery, and commitment you demonstrated reflect the highest standards of United States Coast Guard and the values we strive to uphold as public servants. On behalf of the City of St. Mary's and the St. Mary's Fire Department, please accept our sincere appreciation for your heroism and service. Your actions serve as an example to all and remind us of the vital role all first responders play in protecting the lives of our citizens. With gratitude and respect. Want to come on up here? Y'all come up here. Somebody take a picture here. Right here. We just face each
All right, I'm
other.
gonna flip on this side of you. Here we go. See?
Thank you very much.
Mayor, check that draft come through.
I'm coming right back down there in just a second.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is our presentation, update on our Exit 1 project from our representatives at Volker. Mr. Bill Powell.
So good evening, council members and Mayor Lockhart.
Turn your mic.
Can't hear you on.
Turn your mic
Front
on.
button. On the front. There you go.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, that's better. So good evening, council members and Mayor Lockhart. Appreciate the opportunity to come. A few introductions. Again, I'm Bill Powell. I'm the operation manager, and I manage the Jacksonville office for Volker. Got a couple of our executive members here today I'd just like to introduce. Mike Warnke is our chief engineer for the Southeast region and the vice president. And then Stan Winter is the vice president of our program management services. And then Jimmy Screen is the president of our program management services. So proud to be here. Appreciate it. Okay, so our task orders, 2 are complete. So we're down to 3 general task orders. Okay, and we have these 3 task orders open: the general program management services, the hydraulic modeling, plan review, and then the balance of those that are in blue are the Exit 1 projects that we're currently working on. I'll run through the task orders quickly, and then we'll get to the infrastructure projects. Okay, task order 1, we have a few tasks that we're currently working on. We're finishing up the GEMA emergency genset RFP, the lead service line, the field investigation to identify lead service lines or rule them out. And then that last one will to review some of the Freeze and Nichols master plan priority projects for sanitary sewer projects, and that'll come up a little later when we're talking about the sewer concerns with the city. So we're working on those with Chris and Bobby. The hydraulic modeling, again, this one's going to come in handy again when we're talking on the sewer and what lift stations need to be improved, and we still have budget in there to help the city identify the remedies for some of those lift stations that are concerning public works. So that one remains open as well. The task order number 3, the plan review, that one's kind of winded down. I know the city, you added the city engineer, the assistant public works director, and then a planner that are helping with that plan review now. So our services are kind of trimmed down, but we left it open in case Jamie or her team need us in the future. And then the city hall, the sewer, that one's complete. And then the Colerain traffic study, that one's complete. And then we get to the task orders for the Exit 1 projects. So task order 5 is the water treatment plant. The 3 that are highlighted in yellow are under construction. Okay. And I just want to pause here and add a few things about Volker that some of you may not know about, but we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be program managers and take that responsibility seriously. We're here to serve the community, and we have one of our key values is to serve where we have projects. So just so you know, we are sponsoring the Seafood Festival coming up, one of the sponsors, and our team from Jacksonville is going to volunteer there. So we take that serious, and our corporate folks expect us to serve where we have projects, so appreciate that. Our goal that I always I'll try to explain is that we're here to make sure that projects are safe, compliant, good quality, and good value for the city. We fully support the city and represent them in every task that we do. The tab 2, I think a few of you are going to recognize this term. In the past, I've either said we're herding cats or we're trying to get everybody to play in the sandbox together, because we have 2 developers, 3 consultants, the city public works, the city community development, those couple of developers, and then we have a couple power companies. So a lot of coordination to keep everybody going in the same direction. But so far, so good. We've negotiated about $170,000 in savings for the city in either direct fee negotiations with the consultants that you've hired, or scope of work reductions where either they're doing something that we should be doing, so we'll pull that out of their scope to save that money. And then again, fully support Bobby and his team for whatever they need and look out for their best interests at every meeting we attend or every decision we make. And again, Jamie's group, excellent to work with, and she's certainly looking out for what's best in the development for the city, and we fully support her and her team for that. The water treatment plant, a few updates for that. Reynolds Construction was awarded the contract, I think, on or about 8/19. So we have construction underway, okay? If when you're driving by there, you'll see clearing, grubbing, erosion and sedimentation control items going up. We've started the periodic construction progress meetings that we run for the city, and those are bi-weekly now, but as construction ramps up over the next month or so, those will turn out to be weekly construction meetings. We report out to the city monthly on the progress that's being made in a written form, and it'll be good now that we can start adding some construction photos to those. These are the water treatment plant financials. This is just from our program management services e-builder. It's a program management software that we use to track all the finances for the projects. It tracks our services, our fees, ETM, the consultant's fees, the contractor, and their cost, and that's how we track that. Simple pie chart here, but we have detailed project reports that we can print out and share as needed. Task order number 6 is the St. Mary's intersection improvements. So that one, we hope sometime next week to be out advertising that one for bid. Okay, so we've got the design documents ready to go, some minor comments that we had for the ETM consultant to finish, but that one should be out to advertise next week if everything goes well. Again, just the financials for that, you can see that. I'm not going to go over that unless you have questions about it later. Esplanade Boulevard, that's the main entrance to the Taylor Morrison subdivision. So that one is under construction. Again, clearing, grubbing is taking place, all the erosion control and sedimentation is in place. And again, we expect that construction to pick up quickly like the other roadway because we've accelerated the schedules and expect them to stick to those schedules. So a lot of work will be happening over the next few months. Finally, we have a construction photo to show you. And we'll, in the reports in the future, we'll certainly provide some interesting ones as we go to the water treatment plant expansion, construction, the lift station, and the roadways as things get along. So we'll be able to share those, and we'll also put those photographs in the reports that we share with Bobby on a monthly basis. Fire Station Road, that is being built in conjunction with, it went out to bid and is being built in conjunction with the water treatment plant and one of the lift stations. There's 3 required for exit 1. So one of the lift stations, we combined that lift station, the Fire Station Road, which is still Waters Road, and the water plant all together in order to bid it and get it under construction quickly. Grand Lake Drive, which originally was labeled Haddock Road North, is the entrance on the north side of St. Mary's Road to the Taylor Morrison and Radiant property. So that one, we're at 90% design and expect by December to have the bid documents out and ready to advertise for that project. And then task order 10 is the St. Mary's beautification project. So we've gone back and forth between a couple consultants, ETM and Land Design, to try to get the best value for the city So we've negotiated a few times with each, and we're ready to sit down with the city and make a final recommendation. So that should come before council at some point in the near future for review and approval. And that project will include, at the beginning, will include the design and permitting, and then we'll move on to construction after that. And the last one, the sanitary sewer lift station. So like I said, 78, lift station 78 is being built with the water plant because it's up there in the water plant property. So it made sense to do that. 79 is the one that's going to serve Esplanade Boulevard. And that one is going to be a separate project. And then number 80 is going to be built in conjunction with Grand Lake Drive, because it's along that corridor and up nestled in a stormwater management area, so we're going to bid that one out with that. The lift station, we've kind of paused that for the last couple of weeks, the design. We've reached the 90% design level, but we paused it so that ETM, the city, and Volkert could look at that Scrubby Bluff treatment plant and see if it could handle more of the flows from exit 1. Because if it could handle more of the flows, and it's a good value for the city, we could eliminate some long force main runs, which is very costly, and also alleviate some of the pain points that Chris is looking at and some of the risk in the existing system. So that one's kind of on hold just for a couple of weeks in order to determine the best direction for the city for the lift stations. And I thought I had a slide there that said, thank you, and we'll take some questions. In your packets up there, some of the reports that we can print out on a monthly basis for the financials for the project. We can do it per project. We can do the group of projects, as you can see, the cash flow. And certainly our program tool spits out a number of details. If folks are interested, we could certainly do a workshop or show that on an individual basis, or a couple of people if you're interested in seeing how we track the finances for that, because it's a detailed software that we use.
One question, Bill. On the access road for the water treatment and the fire station, I don't know if it's in exactly the same place that years ago Rayonier Radiant had proposed a fire station with a potential commercial development, distribution centers, whatever, an industrial area there on the north side. And in those initial drawings, as I recall, there was going to be a requirement for a bridge to go over some waterways, and I don't know if that's been mitigated in some fashion, or if the road's in the same place, we're able to get away from the cost of that bridge?
Yeah, absolutely. Away from the bridge for sure. We mitigated the wetlands. So we are impacting the wetlands going through, but we've mitigated that in the project. Okay. And the city has had to pay for a mitigation bank to cover that mitigation. But it's been covered. And there still is the plan north of the water plant to do some type of industrial project, warehouse or something like that. But that's in Radiant's court to still evaluate exactly what they want to do up there.
As well as the commercial.
Yeah. Yeah, the commercial pods along St. Mary's are still in Radiant's court, and
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else have any other questions?
No. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Appreciate y'all being here tonight, and thank you for your support and of the festival upcoming.
Yeah,
And
we're excited.
Get your hands dirty, make some hush puppies. Come see me.
We will, for sure. Thank you.
I need help with the fish.
We need somebody to cut fish too, so. All right, thank y'all so much. All right, next on our agenda tonight is a proclamation that I'll read for U.S. Constitution Week. And I believe we have a representative here from, yes? No? Okay, well, I'll read it anyway. All right, proclamation for the United States of America Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2025 marks the 238th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas Constitution Week is an American observance to commemorate the adoption, and whereas it is fitting and proper to afford official recognition to this magnificent document, its memorable anniversary and patriotic celebrations which commemorate the occasion. It is important to reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. And whereas Constitution Week reminds all Americans to focus on this very important document by reviewing the Constitution, remembering the spirit which embodies it, and educating our children on the importance of the Constitution so they may be good stewards of our tomorrow. Now therefore, I, Gregory Lockhart, Mayor of the City of St. Mary's, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 23rd, 25 as Constitution Week. All right, thank you. So we'll get this to the representatives, but just so you know that we have some activities that'll be going on that week that Ms. Walker-Reed has set up for us. There'll be a table outside the doors there with some pocket Constitution copies. There'll be some coloring pages and things for crayons for the kids and stuff. There'll be some videos that you can come in, set up to watch on, how the Constitution came to be and some of those kinds of things. So if you have an interest, would like to bring your children down, we'd certainly encourage you to do so. Thank you very much. All right, next item is the board appointment announcement for the tax allocation district number 3. We have one seat still, and a board appointment because of term expiration of the Camden County Board of Education Sex Educational Instructional Review Committee. So if you have any interest in serving on either one of those capacities, please see Ms. Walker-Reed. All right, we have the report of our authorities. So we have our assistant finance director is going to be making our presentation, looks like.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your packets, you will find the financial report for the city's revenue and expenditures through July 2025, which is the first month of the fiscal year FY 2026. Are there any questions?
Oh, man.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we have our city manager, Mr. Burke.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens. Demolition of the old city pool, as everybody may be aware, Anderson Environmental has been contracted to perform the lead and asbestos removal of the swimming pool, the main building, and accessory structures. Contract deadline is for September the 28th, 2025. Once this is completed, Public Works can begin the demolition process. Right-of-way mowing, city crews. The route for city crews is down to 14 days after contracting additional road sections in Waterfront Park. The mowing crew is currently working in the North Dandy Street, Spence Street area, and we'll head down Shadow Line area next. The contractors, Coastal Greenery and Addie's Lawn Care, are working their prospective roadway sections. Sidewalk and curb edging has been a topic of concern from residents due to the weed killers being used instead of mechanical edging. Contractors have been made aware not to use the weed killer for edging, but only for cracks and joint weed control. Contractors have also been asked to provide a cost for completing edging performed twice a month, and we are waiting on those estimates. Landscape Innovations has been contracted to remove and replace the stone paver walkways in the first road median, the one with the cannon at St. Mary Street and Osborne. Work is expected to begin around the middle of September and completed within 1 week. Our ditch crews, as of 9/15, the ditch crews are 70% complete with the outfall ditches, and just completed the ditches in the Sloan Street area and Marsh Cove area. Ditch crew Number 2 is currently repairing a leaking storm drain inlet on Stable Alley and is cleaning ditches throughout the city that are in urgent need of cleaning. Yellow Place Drainage Project, Public Works staff have met with the 3 property owners and have received verbal commitments to provide easements to the city. The easement documents have been developed by the city attorney. The Public Works Department is working to get the easement documents signed by the property owners. Once the easements have been signed and recorded, the city can move and establish the necessary swell to mitigate the backyard drainage issues at that location. Palmetto Street drainage, Bill Gross is contacting the property owner that is adjacent to Inlet Reach. This is the parcel that the temporary ditch was constructed onto. Mr. Amos, Chris Amos, sent the below sketch showing where the easement is needed. Bill Gross will forward this parcel to the parcel owner and let us know if he's agreeable to granting the easement. We have received word from Mr. Gross that the property owner that he dealt with is getting the proposed drainage easement. Hold on, let me back up. We have received word from Mr. Gross that the property owner that he dealt with is agreeing to the proposed drainage easement across the property. The Public Works is currently working to secure a surveyor for the survey and legal description needed to submit to the city attorney to draft the easement agreement for the property owner to sign. Colwell Road and Winding Road Roundabout. The City of Kingsland and the City of St. Mary's have teamed up on this project, including design, permit, and construction. The City of Kingsland will take the lead on the project, with the City of St. Mary's having collaborative input throughout the whole process, with expenses being split 50-50 between the 2 cities. The request for qualifications and sealed fee proposals for design services have been put out by the City of Kingsland, and they are set to be open on October 9th, 2025 at 2 p.m. The LMIG projects, FY22, FY23, 24, and the supplemental 24 are currently in progress. However, there are punch list items and corrections needed to some of these street locations. Pardon me. Most of them have been striked. They're going through the process now of double checking the punch list and ensuring that those projects are completed. So, and I think there's an inspection sometime this week on those to finalize them. Next, you'll see in your packet, council, that's the grant status, and we'd be here all night if I named every one of them and where we're at with the status, but everything is right there for you to see, including the departments and the funding and what agencies we are looking for funding for. Come on in the house. How are you? And Mayor and Council, that completes my report for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Horton. Are there any questions?
I do have a question about Yoa Place.
Yes, ma'am.
We've drafted, our attorney, I guess, has drafted the easements. Are we having trouble reaching the families?
I don't believe so.
No,
No, ma'am.
because we've been working on it for a while, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering when we're going to be able to get those signed and get the
It-
construction
hopefully very soon.
started.
Hopefully very soon.
All right, thank
And
you.
as soon as we do, we're moving. Okay?
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the section where we'll set our consent agenda, but I believe to entertain a motion from Mr. Nascimento.
Yes, I'd like to add, I guess it would be R if we're going to put it to the end, on utilizing volunteers and retired military, both active or former law enforcement, to patrol our schools, to keep our schools safe. So I'd just like to add that as agenda item R for a discussion item.
Would it be T? Would it be T, actually, with
T.
group S? I think.
EQR.
It'd be after Q, so it's
Don't
R.
we have S as well?
QR. Yes. We are?
Yeah, so it would be T.
Whatever the next letter of the alphabet is,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, that
Do
one.
that.
Yeah.
Where's the S?
It's R? Yeah.
It's all right, I don't have an S.
You are.
I have
Yeah.
a Q. Do we have an?
We have an
And
S.
the one that she gave
Do we have a different packet? Mine has a Q.
Unless we added an item today and I don't have an updated packet.
No, you all were sent the second one on Friday, so you should have, it should be ended as Q, and then the next one is R. You're
Yeah.
looking at tabs. He's talking about the letter, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's agenda item, so
I'm
R.
sorry, she's talking about tabs, not
Yeah.
tabs.
Understood.
Oh,
Yeah, just the next letter.
You're good.
all right, we're all gonna go back to elementary school and work on the alphabet and learn that song again. Okay,
Oh, do we have to second that?
so now we're gonna set the.
Do we have to have a
consent-
motion?
Yes, we do. Is
So obviously I have a motion to add that to the agenda item.
there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous, madam. We'll add
Yes, sir.
R. Okay. We'll set the consent agenda now. We have item A, old business, Mission Trace Culvert Replacement Change Order Number 1, RAL Contracting.
Discuss?
Discuss.
Under new business, we have item A, resolution and quitclaim deed for transfer of ownership regarding St. Mary's Civic Park and Lake St. Mary's from the Camden County Public Service Authority.
Consent.
You discuss? Did I hear?
Consent.
Consent. Okay.
Consent.
Item B, intergovernmental agreement for parks and recreation operations and programming between Camden County Public Service Authority, City of Kingsland, City of Woodbine, and City of St. Mary's, St. Mary's Civic, St. Mary's Rec Field, and an Otters Pond.
Discuss.
Discuss.
Item C, intergovernmental agreement regarding St. Mary's Submarine Museum marketing between Camden County Joint Development Authority and City of St. Mary's.
Consent.
Consent.
You say discuss?
Consent.
Consent.
Consent. Okay, I'm sorry. Trying to make sure no discusses are mixed in there. All right, consent. Item D, additional personnel positions in police and public works departments.
Consent.
Consent.
Item E, budget ordinance amendment fiscal year 2026 general fund equity aquatic center repairs.
Discuss.
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 Item F, rezoning request for tax parcel S3309-006 from R1 Single Family Residential to C1 Commercial, Church Street Cottages, 106 Church Street for Mr. Craig Root.
Consent.
Consent.
Item G, special use permit for parking lot on tax parcel S3309-006, 106 Church Street for Mr. Craig Root.
Consent.
Consent.
Item H, rezoning request for St. Mary's Commerce Park parcel 12B from IL Light Industrial District to C2 Highway Commercial and Community District.
Consent.
Consent.
Item I, zoning map amendment request for St. Mary's Commerce and Industrial Park Development District overlay, Commerce Park Industrial Park Site 2 and portion of Industrial Park North Site.
Consent.
Consent.
Item J, zoning ordinance amendment to establish the St. Mary's Commerce and the Industrial Park Development District. Text
Consent.
amendment.
Consent.
Consent.
Item K, resolution for 90-day moratorium on any new planned development district, major rezoning, major subdivision, conceptual and preliminary plat applications, and civil plan reviews.
Discuss.
Item L, right-of-way encroachment license agreement between City of St. Mary's and Kraken Coffee and Kitchen Company, city's creative uses of right-of-way pilot program.
Discuss.
Item M, professional services deductive amendment number 1 to current England, Thames, and Miller Task Order 1, designed for TAD 2 water treatment plant.
Consent.
Item N, professional services deductive amendments number 1 to current England, Thames, and Miller Task Order number 3, Fire Station Access Road, Stillwaters Road, and Phase 1A Entry Road, Esplanade Boulevard.
Consent.
Item O, Memorandum of Agreement, Mutual Aid Firefighting Assistance between Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay and City of St. Mary's.
Consent.
Item P, fourth quarter Town Hall and Development Progress Update.
Discuss. Did you want a clarification on that?
Yeah, we could discuss,
Okay.
that's fine.
Item Q, Financial Consulting Services for Financial Policy, Internal Controls, Accounting System, ERP, and Internal Management Reporting, Malden and Jenkins.
Consent.
And item R, using former military and as volunteers for the schools.
Discuss.
Discuss.
All right, so to review that agenda, I have items for discussion. A, old business on Mission Trace culvert replacements. Under new business, the intergovernmental agreement for Parks and Recreation operations and programming between the municipalities and the county. The budget ordinance amendment for fiscal year 2026 general fund equity for the aquatic center repairs. The resolution for the 90-day moratorium on new plan development, item K. Item L, the right-of-way encroachment license agreement between city and Kraken. And item P, the fourth quarter town hall development progress update. And item R, the former military volunteer for the school system discussed. So those are the items for discussion. The rest are under consent. And at this point, we will grant audience to the public. So if you'd like to speak on any of these agenda items or frankly anything else concerning the city, please come to the podium and give us your name and your address, please. And
Good evening, Julia McCullough, 603 Norris Street, St. Mary's, Georgia. I am a member of the St. Mary's Historic Preservation Commission. Member Scott DuBois is here as well. Melvin Taylor, who is our chair, he is out of town tonight, and he gave me permission to speak on behalf of the commission. I'm here specifically to speak about the encroachment license of Kraken Coffee. I see on the city council agenda, there's a recommendation for approval of the license. I just wanted to go through a couple of the things that were on there. First of all, I want to say that the idea of that is amazing. I think that the city has a lot to gain by having parklets or outside cafes. I think there's some speed issues, and it's not being thought out thoroughly and quickly, and I think there's some problems with safety. So I encourage each of you to look in your packet, and there's three main areas of concern. The first one, second paragraph under the history and analysis. While the program was presented to the HPC on multiple times, it was in no way ever vetted by the HPC. It's kind of been circumnavigated around us, and there were some huge concerns raised on several occasions by at least 4 HPC members when the city planning office spoke with us regarding the right-of-way encroachment, and at that time it was for Kraken and Brackish Beer. That was the original piece. And even though this is being given to us as a pilot program, and it's happening inside of the historic district and will add specific and significant design elements to the district, we were never given an application of certificate of appropriateness in the matter. So there was never a motion made for approval or deny, and I just want y'all to understand that piece. In fact, we were told that they were not actually seeking our approval, that they were simply asking for our blessing. And that was a little disturbing, considering some of the issues that we even have tonight about the slate walkway in the park being removed because we were not a part of that as well. So I just don't want things like that to happen without the HPC being involved. Number 2, the sidewalk cafe permit clearly requires, in number 6 in the packets that you have, 3 specific pieces to the layout plan. The first one was completed. That's the one where they show where the I guess the tables are, there's black blocks. I assume that's tables. It really wasn't labeled well. However, the bulleted points 2 and 3 have not been included in the application. In fact, although they are a requirement of a completed application, the Community Development department stated in the recommendations to the council, and it says, quote, "The specifications have not been completed for either item and recommends the council approve the encroachment license, and then collaborative efforts for design and specifications would be worked on at a later date." And it seems to me that we're putting the cart before the horse. I think when we're doing a pilot program like this, we need to move slowly, and all of those items need to be in place so everybody has an idea of what it should look like before it's voted on. Let's just slow down and make sure the application and the requirements have been satisfied before approving the agreement. As a sidebar, although the proposed project is within the historic district, the HPC has been left out of the final design. And you can see that in your packets directly above the city manager's signature. You'll see that all of the organizations that were originally supposedly vetted for this, the HPC has been left out of any kind of design ideas, and we'd like to be included in that. More specific, the site layout plan requirement for the sidewalk cafe permit, it's supposed to include photographs, drawings, manufacturer brochures describing the appearance, the materials, and the dimensions of everything that are proposed furnishings. Again, this requirement of the completed application, and it's been recommended by the council, approve the application as is, and then collaboratively work on those later. And again, I think we're putting some things in the wrong order. Number 3, the final area of concern, and possibly the most important, is insurance and safety. The application requirement, number 5, the application requires a minimum of a $500,000 general liability insurance, and that the city be named as a code insured. The applicant generously purchased $1 million life insurance policy. We kind of got to ask ourselves why. Is safety an issue on Osborne Street? I think we've already had conversations with the Milton case last year, and I think council had some conversations with that at one of those meetings. Mayor Lockhart and council members, 56 feet. 56 feet, and thank you for some of y'all looking up at that. That's how long it would take a car traveling 25 miles an hour on Osborne Street to stop. 25 miles per hour, 56 feet. The Historic Preservation Commission has suggested that the right-of-way encroachment actually be turned on the corner of Stable Alley Road where there's 2 parallel parking spots. That these 2 spaces along with the sidewalk would result in the same seating area but would keep the city seating area off of Osborne Street. As we all know, it's had its fair share of high-speed incidents and accidents. The license agreement should be tabled tonight because the application is incomplete, because the HPC has been left off of the collaborative efforts and the design specifications, and because there could be safer alternatives to achieve the same exact outcome. Thank you for your thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Shaw, 30 Marymount Court, St. Mary's, Georgia. I have a few things here I want to discuss. I don't know if I need to borrow Mr. Burt's egg timer, or I'll rely on the mayor to give me the high sign when I start running out of time. Anyway, I know I'm beating a dead horse talking about that traffic roundabout, but I have a daughter that's on the zoning committee in Kingsland, and when they improved State Route 40 out to Five Corners, they want to put a roundabout in there. The city voted it down. And so what do they have? Traffic lights in there. Okay. I lived in New York City in the late 60s and early 70s for 2.5 years when I was stationed there on Governor's Island. I don't know if anybody's been in there or been around Columbus Circle. Okay? Columbus Circle was always a gigantic headache. It was crazy. Go to Google Earth today and look at the Earth view. Traffic cameras all around that. Traffic lights all around that area. The other thing is, you got the situation here. If St. Mary's can't get things done with the state, and we have 2 Republican representatives of this area and can't get anything done, maybe it's time to get other people in there, because as the Chinese say, it's not whether the cat is black or white, it's whether it catches the mouse. And they're obviously not catching the mouse. The other thing was the Jacoby project, that they were trying to get that thing and it got held up because they could not get an archaeological permit to excavate the trash pit that Mr. Jones said was existing there. And that went on and on and on. And Mr. Horton had gone to the state, and they said, if you come back to us one more time, you can just forget about it. So this thing continued on. They're paying off the bond. The backers said, this is ridiculous, and left. Jacoby went bankrupt on that. So that was a TAD, one of our tax allocation districts. And what happens to this bond issue? Who's paying that off? Is that the City of St. Mary's and the Joint Development Agency? When you say St. Mary's, that means us. County, us, are paying that off. Okay. Next thing is talking about this new City Hall, where we talked, all you council members have talked about, we're building more and more, and St. Mary's is building, and all this stuff is going on. So what do you folks do to cut the budget down on new City Hall? You reduce the size of planning. Now, I only have a bachelor's degree, so I'm not one of the academic intelligentsia, but that seems pretty counterproductive to me. So you go down the road, and then what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to figure out how to expand that planning department after you've cut it down. Every time I have been on a job, and I did this for 37 years, when we had the project set up and people said, Jesus, too much, let's cut here, let's cut here, let's cut here, let's cut there. We started cutting it. As we got into the job, started things tearing apart, things start coming together, and they start looking at this and start going, yeah, maybe we should have put in all those sliding glass doors for this big deck that's going to go in there down the road. Well, as soon as they start doing this, then what happens? Your whole project falls apart. Your critical timelines fall apart. Your subcontractors' times fall apart. You have to order material that sometimes they have to be custom, take 4 or 5 weeks to get. So guess what? When they come back and doing this, this costs about 20% more, and also it increases the completion time. In California, you had to have a completion date. So I put down on my change orders, completion date, completion date, completion date, completion date. I had one guy come up to me and says, you were supposed to be out of here March 4th, and it's March 7th. What's going on? So I opened the contract up, went through there. Well, here's the change orders. So I looked at change orders and said, here's dates, here's dates, here's dates, here's dates. I picked up my bag and started walking out the door. He says, where are you going? I said, I'm going sailing. We're 15 days ahead of schedule. Okay? Never had a problem with him again. Okay, so anyway, I don't understand this. Next thing, change orders. We just kind of got into the change order thing. That here you were on this culvert situation. The guy wants to put in a change order, and you say absolutely not. Now, Councilman Connors had asked the gentleman from the city up here, how would you know what that culvert had to be? And he said you had to tear up the street. Now, if I had a job that I had to do forensic deconstruction to figure out what's in there to do my due diligence, you're paying for it. Okay? And if I got into a job, and because the customer and his architect or whomever they had, the designer, said, okay, we want to run this 10-inch ducting for this huge fan that's going outside in his kitchen. And I said, well, that you got to check everything up in the ceiling to make sure it goes. They said, well, there's a bay that goes all the way over there. Okay, great. We put it in, bid it this way, and I said, depends on what we find when we open it up. We open it up, they had remodeled the bathroom upstairs, put a big header across there. Okay? Big problem. I'd be damned if they said we're not paying for a change order. I'd have packed up my bags. I would have filed a lien against their property and filed suit. Right away, right now. I wouldn't have hesitated one instant. So I don't know, but the contracting community is very small. And you folks do that stuff, you're going to get a red flag next to your name. And when you put out bids, they're going to look at that and say, forget it's not worth it. Okay? And if you do get somebody to submit a bid, it is going to be 75 to 100% higher to cover the stuff. Now go back a little bit when they had the building the kitchen for Orange Hall. My time?
Yes.
Okay, time. Okay.
A little extra, actually.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're supposed to do this.
You were on a roll. I was trying to let you finish up, but.
Ken Jelly, 102 Saltgrass Trace here in St. Mary's. I wanted to talk just a little bit about the pilot program for sidewalk dining. And Certainly, I appreciate all the comments from the HPC representative. This is a pilot program, and with any new program, there's going to become all kinds of surprises and questions and what ifs, and that's to be expected. And that's good that that is done, because the last thing anybody wants is a pilot program that's going to fail. So we want it to be successful, of course. So I'm going to go back a little bit to tell you about a story. In 1949, when I was old enough for my mother to take me downtown in Nashua, New Hampshire. And what an experience that was, walking down the sidewalk in this big city and looking around, and my mother said, we're going to stop at Martha's Sweet Shop. Well, Martha's Sweet Shop was a very small business, family owned, and they made their own ice cream, and then you could buy very exotic nuts there. They would import Brazil nuts and pistachios and so on and so forth. The ice cream was delicious, but what I really remember about that is there were 3 tables outside of Martha's Sweet Shop where people were sitting and enjoying their ice cream on that hot day. And the next time I went to Martha's Sweet Shop, they had some umbrellas there to sort of shade the folks. And then maybe a couple of years later, they had an awning and more tables. And then the next thing I know, the sidewalk got widened, and now there's a whole bunch of tables, and pedestrians coming back and forth were just walking by saying, hello, hello, how are you? And before you knew it, you had a reservation list that you had to sign up on in order to be able to get a seat at Martha's Sweet Shop for that sidewalk dining. Eventually it grew. You could buy sandwiches and so on and so forth. But that all said, to get to that point required close looks at a lot of different factors and some adjustments as things move forward. So I think it's a wonderful pilot program. I think it's a great initiative on everyone's part that's involved, and I really look forward to seeing something like that come to fruition as a pilot program, and if it works out real well. I've seen it in a lot of other large cities. Of course, it was on a much larger scale as well. Safety is an issue, absolutely. Removable bollards that you stick in the ground, maybe that big around, and things like that. So I think it's a very doable plan, and everybody that's involved in it and trying to move it forward, I applaud them. Thank you very much.
You must be an old timer. You remember 1949?
Good evening, Nick Harris, 102 Hamlet Circle. I think I've exhausted myself through different agencies within the city, so now I'm coming to ask you all for help in a collective solution, because any problem definitely has a solution. But as I've gone through the different departments, everybody's compartmentalized, and they have a different opinion. My wife and I own Farm to Family, and we've been doing well, but the last month, since school started, I'm looking at our numbers, and they're dwindling significantly, and it's about parking. And I've been to Bill Gross, who we own. I've been to the police department and talked to them. I've personally been over across the street to talk to the principal. I've talked to Candace and her crew, and I've spoken to the city planner, and I've even addressed it with Councilwoman Keene, and we haven't come up with a solution. But we're losing business because families are too freaking lazy to use the back parking lot of that school every day. You go camp out there tomorrow, that parking lot is empty. However, everybody wants to park in the 3 or 4 spots in front of our store. So we have a lot of senior citizens or people with disabilities, so when they walk by and those 4 or 5 parking spots are taken up, they keep going. We're losing money because of what the principal won't do. The solution is we either put some decorative things, and I know the state has a jaywalking law, but I'm not sure we do. And the state requires everybody to use a crosswalk, which would mean everybody's got to walk a significant amount to get to the school door. Somebody, and Councilwoman Keene can justify this because I think it happened to her. If you watch those families, mom is getting the teeny little one out of the car seat, and the other kids have already come out of the car. She doesn't have control, and they've darted out into the street. She almost hit one of those kids. Why are we going to wait to do something after somebody's injured or they're not paying attention and the door opens and the kid's getting out of the car and they sideswipe the car? A solution, or there's several, we either put something, we enforce a jaywalking thing where everybody has got to go to the crosswalk, which is going to be hard to do because right there we've got 2 police people monitoring the traffic to walk people across the street, but they're not paying any attention to the people darting out across the street. 2 would be to put some kind of flower beds or something in those 4 spaces where it's not going to be convenient to dart across. But in talking to the chief coming in here tonight, I'm asking the city, we say we're a city of one, we say we want small businesses. Right now, the way it's structured, a new small business is losing money because there's no parking. With the grosses, the parking on when you go into the parking lot, that whole side is designated for the people that are renting their VRBOs. The first 2 or 3 going in on the right are handicap accessible, so it leaves you maybe 4 in their parking lot, and then the rest have to go behind in the alley there. How about the city give Farm to Family 3 or 4 spaces right in front of our store, and they put a time limit sign there. Between, you got 20 minutes or 30 minutes to park between these 2 signs because people aren't coming into Farm to Family to camp out. They're coming in to get their stuff and they're moving out. Max is probably 15, maybe 20. So between 4 parking spots, maybe parking limit signs, 30 minutes only between these 2 signs, and we start enforcing that. But we can't continue just to say, well, that's just the way it is, especially when we've got a parking lot at that school that's plumb but empty because people are just too freaking lazy. Because I'm thinking if you got to go from the parking lot, it's, not a big trek, but you're trekking. And even teachers, they come during the day. And this past week, this is no joke, from the time that bell rang to the time that bell ended, teachers took every parking spot on that whole block. It's just not fair. We can't do it. I think every other business in the city has ample parking right in front of their store. We shouldn't be the only sole entity, and we are losing money because of the lack of parking. When there's available parking for the people that are taking up. So we need a solution from the city, and since I brought it to everybody's attention, until we get it fixed, I'm just going to be that voice of soreness until we come to some things, because we cannot afford to keep losing 30 to 40% profit to keep our doors open, and everybody's wanting us to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman, Mayor, Shirley Sessoms, 114 Boston Court. I got a few things I want to mention. I see the trailer is still up there by the railroad track. I don't think y'all ever looked in on that. You know that pink trailer up there I told y'all to look for? Also, I wanted to ask you, St. Mary's got so much going on, so much building, the housing and all of that, which is wonderful. But had anybody thought about the impact of this going to have on the schools with the new homes and residents coming into St. Mary's? I just wanted you to ask about that. And also, the impact on the police department too, more areas to cover. And I want to thank Chief Calloway for keeping me from going to jail the other day. We got some kids that is terrorizing the area and smart mouths. I'm old school, and I tell y'all, I had to call him. And I didn't mean to interrupt his hunting trip, but to keep me from going to jail, he did help me out because I was going out there to grab those kids. And I want to thank him for helping me on that. This is a serious matter. Y'all just, every day we go through something. And also, I want to ask you all, the bicycles that's on the road, do the bicycles supposed to be going along with the traffic, or do they supposed to be facing the traffic? Because I almost hit somebody that was coming. I had to look because they was coming at me, and I'm so used to traffic and bicycles going the same direction. Is that a law here that you have to go the same direction? And put some lights on your bikes. Go in the same direction. It scared me the other night when I almost hit this guy. I almost hit him because he was coming at me instead of flowing with me. So I think that you need to really look into that before someone get knocked over in a ditch on these bicycles and they don't have lights on them or anything like that. And another thing, sidewalks. Do y'all have any intention of putting sidewalk down Corrine Road and down Kingsbury Road to go to Walmart, all of that? Because another thing, the guy was walking and you couldn't even hardly see him. You couldn't see him really until you was on him, and he was walking right there on the edge of the road. Right there on the edge. And I wanted to know, are y'all considering any sidewalks that will help pedestrian people walking, the stores in those areas? Please look at that and see about correcting that for me, please. And also the outside restaurant thing, I like them. I tell you, I lived in Spain and that's all you had outside. You go to, and everything was outside, restaurants outside. So that's a pretty good idea if you all do it right. So it's a good idea. I like that. And I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't forget that trailer.
The city manager and I had a conversation about it this morning, Shirley. So,
Michael Wilson, 203 East Hall Street, St. Mary's. My concerns are the ditches from the railroad tracks, the east side of Osborne. That's where the water flow. And I challenge you to take a ride and see how many ditches are working. The last time I complained about it, they sent me to the roads department. When I got there, they told me they don't do that kind of work. They haven't done that kind of work since Buddy Barnes died. Okay, for example, the other day, you had the guy with the bush hog clearing out the boat ramp where you could see. That was beautiful because we got kids that ride bikes there and it's hard to see them. But I asked the guy, it's a ditch that's put on the corner of 1000 Norris Street that belongs to my mom. And she was complaining about the ditch, but at that time I was working and just about living in Jacksonville. And when I looked at the ditch the other day, I went to the city worker. And he told me, he said, Mister, I guarantee you I look at it, but we didn't dig that ditch. He said the city gave the contractor that built those duplex homes their permission to put the ditch there. Now, I grew up as a kid. I'm 71 years old, and I never seen a ditch there. And I know people raised Cain about it, but nothing was done. So he told me, he said, I promise you that I'm going to come along, I'm going to take this bush hog, and I'll clear that ditch for you. No sooner than I got in the house, he was gone. So I'm challenging that the last time a hurricane came up the East Coast, it was 6 men in my neighborhood that went along with shovels during the hurricane and dug out ditches. That ain't gonna work no more. 3 of those men are already gone. And if you think I'm joking, just take a ride, get in the golf carts, ride, and check and see how many of those ditches would work if we got in a hurricane today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sean Myers, 817 Riverview Drive West. Also, like Mr. Ken Jelly, I want to lend my support also for the Kraken and the stations that we're setting up there for patrons and restaurants. I think that's a very good idea. We've worked hard on, I also work with the Development Authority, and we worked hard with putting together the grant program to support that. So I am in full support of that, but I also acknowledge what was stated here on today. And again, I don't know exactly, I'm assuming she got up here in the exactness of that. So one of the things I would say is this. At work, we say work at the speed of compliance. She brought up a lot of things here today. I am in full support of cracking, but I also say work at the speed of compliance. So again, I can't tell you what that means, but obviously she put out some information here today. So just ask that you simply evaluate that. And also the gentleman was speaking earlier about the culvert situation. He was talking about that. And I think I talked with Councilman Jones about this before as well. That particular situation I was explaining a couple of weeks ago. Again, my background is civil engineering. Wrote a lot of contracts, scope of works and stuff like that. And when we have typically give someone a drawing and they are to go and do whatever work that is, one of the things that we always put in there, if we give you a drawing, we are responsible for it. But we would put a note in there that says the contractor is responsible for field verification of all dimensions. When you do that, that eliminates a change order. Because if the contract, he has an option at that point, he or she has an option. They can either accept the drawings as you provided them, and if they do, and if they go off and bid everything based upon that, then they also accept the risk. And if they find something, guess what they can't do? They can't come back to the city because they are responsible for field verification. So that's one way. Again, I didn't see the drawings, the scope of work or anything, but that's one of the things that we used to do when it comes to working with existing structures. A simple note like the contractor is responsible for field verification of drawings, it'll save you a lot in the end. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Colby Claflin, and I'm here to represent Kraken Coffee and Kitchen Company at 122 Osborne Street. I know there's been some discussion, and Julie brought up some different things. Tonight is just for the approval of the approachment. To move on with the process of actually design and all of that comes back to the cafe permit. So we can't move forward. The steps that Jamie's taken is just to do the approachment to say, hey, it's okay. And then we come back and then we bring our design to the DASM, the DDA, the Historical Society, to address the insurance. That's just our standard insurance. There was nothing extra added. That was just our standard insurance that we did. We added the St. Mary's, City of St. Mary's as we were asked. We're just following what Jamie wants us to do. We're just trying to be in compliance, and we don't want to upset anybody, and we don't want to do any of that. So that's the reason this process. I think we started this back in January, and she just sees it as getting to the part of the approachment so that we can move to the cafe, which comes to the design. We do have some designs out there where we're not interrupting the streets. We use planter boxes with fences that come apart. The planter boxes are weighed down with water so that we can remove them during the hurricane season. So they wanted them at 3 foot, so a 2 by 2 square foot box holds 8 cubic feet of water, which equals 60 gallons of water, which equals 600 pounds. So each one of the flower boxes that are on the 6 foot spans to make the 20, the 6, and to make the 12, each one of those will weigh 600 pounds. So if somebody was to actually hit the planter box, it's not going to move. But when we go to remove them for the hurricane, we can drain the water out of the bottom. we're not lifting 600 pounds, we're loading them on a trailer, and we could take them apart. There's no obstruction to the street, there's nothing that we're doing to damage the street, any of those things there. We're not trying to leave anybody out of the design. We've come up with Mr. Jelly and that board on trying to design. That's kind of how we got the diagram that you guys seen earlier today with the 20 feet. That was their design. We're just doing what everybody is asking us to do. So I think it'd be great for the city, great for us, but I think it brings more people downtown and something to enjoy. So if there's any other questions later, let me know, but not to upset anybody, but that's the step Jamie wanted to go, was with getting the approachment approved, and then we go to the cafe permit, which is the design. So even after tonight, if we get the approachment approved, we can't move forward until the cafe permit comes in front of council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bert Seals, 816 Riverview Drive. On the Scrubby Bluff Road, going from 17 heading back towards St. Mary's, it would be nice if we put a sign to say, welcome to St. Mary's. You know, just like when you're leaving out of Scrubby Bluff Road, on St. Mary's heading out, you see, welcome to Kingsland. We need to probably put one over there to show that you are in St. Mary's before you get to the Pilot shop out there. Because we just nowhere we really, you know. So something I think we need to look at. There was some activity on Friday, man. I didn't even know about it. I looked at the Tribune, and it was a good activity. There were a lot of trucks, you know. And as a matter of fact, there's one that I normally frequent is the guy with the lobster, and he was there. You know, I didn't know there was anything happening back then. So I went back and looked at the Tribune to see if there's anything that advertised. I didn't see anything, so maybe I missed something. I want to throw it out there. One of the things mowing, the mowers over there on St. Mary's Road, you know, these guys, like they got one more, and he goes up and down. Now, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe a couple guys come and join him later on, because I'm not there watching him. But it seems as though I frequent that road because I go down to the VA down in Jacksonville. I'm looking at, I said, what's happening here? Are they mowing a little bit, one more at a time? You need more than one more at a time. Rolling down that street, and that's all. When we come into St. Mary's, that's a place that we need to see looking good. Some of the stuff was covered. I want to move on to abstentions. You know, I have a problem with, I know, you know, when you guys abstain, you know, no questions asked. You know what I mean? I guess you're free to do that. There's nothing in the book saying that you can't abstain. But I got a problem with that. You know what I mean? You know, abstain is decline to vote either for or against a proposal or motion. You know, either you are undecided, disagree with or all options, or want to remain neutral. Is this thinking neutral? I have a problem with that. You know, and I like how Mr. Ingram, Councilman Ingram, you know, when you guys had a vote in reference to do, I think, with Chevrolet and, you know, the purchasing of the cars, and he abstained. I fully understood that, you know, and he mentioned that, you see, because he works for the company. So he abstained. That's a good way of looking at things. But folks who just abstaining and ain't giving me a reason, you know what I mean? If, you know, I think if you guys, you get the same package like everybody else, you know, if you ain't too sure, call another council member. Say, hey man, tell me about this, tell me about that. I'm just kind of letting you guys find a way to get out. You know what I mean? So when you abstain, I'm like, this don't make no sense. You see what I'm saying? you need to let me know why you're abstaining. And that's good for all y'all, all 6. If you all don't feel it, you don't have to make an explanation, I'll think about that. You know, so let's keep that in mind. Conflict of interest, I know it's a big thing, conflict of interest. If you have a conflict of interest, you suppose I would stay away. Don't vote. You know, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Didn't bring your eight timer.
You guys did all the talking already before. I wasn't.
Larry White, 102 Subies Court. I'll make this short. I just want to talk about our using retired personnel, military personnel, to patrol the schools in St. Mary's. When you discuss this, I would like you to explain what these people are supposed to do other than just walk around the schools. Do they have any authority? Are they part of the police department? Just explain that, please, because I'd like to know. Thank you.
That's a record, Larry.
It is a record.
Yeah, I just got 3 things tonight. First, last meeting, I was really taken aback by the fact that the council disapproved the change order out there at Mission Trace. In my background, I spent 10 years chief of contracting for the National Park Service, overseeing contracts in 7 states, the Caribbean, 65 national parks, spending millions of dollars a year and doing lots of change orders. And like he said, if you try the no change order policy, then you're going to get no bids or inflated bids on your contracts. And like what Sean said was, like, you put that statement in there that you've got to go out there and verify all the stuff, but some things you can't verify, like opening up that building and finding that stuff. So you're still going to have change orders. And I don't think that was a real good example to put a stake in the ground about no change orders, because that one's necessary and you should have approved that. But, what worries me is a position where we're not going to award change orders so we don't get change orders. Then what you got is what he said, inflated bids or no bids. Change orders is a way of life, and it's a way of getting the best product for the taxpayers. So you need to do the change orders. Second, I was researching Splash because I'm worried about where those millions of dollars that the county got is going. And I looked at Splash 8 7 years ago, and in there it said we were going to build restrooms at Meeting Street Boat Ramp. We still going to do that? Splash 8? What are we going to do with that money? Because in Splash, you're supposed to say what you're going to do up front and then do what you said and then publicize what you did. But anyway, it said that right there in 8. So the second thing is we got a $350,000 grant from the state called Tag 2, Trees Across Georgia, and in that is money to hire a certified arborist for the city. Only the money disappears after 2 years, and we're on the hook for a $100,000 salary, a new vehicle, and an office for a person riding around that we can get done on an as-needed basis through a contract with an arborist. So do not hire an arborist and pay them with city money, please.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, hello, Council. My name is Bill Lawrence. I live at 325 Osprey Circle in St. Mary's. And I'm standing tonight because I want to support a very important issue that was brought up tonight. Farm to Family truly does have an issue, and I don't want it to just be one voice. Certainly Nick has got a big voice, but I'd like to add to it and say that if we're going to support our businesses here in town, then we definitely have to look at how people are going to access these businesses. And that's one area that I noticed that it's a safety hazard. I've had to stop for people. We go by there every day in the morning, and we have to stop for those kids, which is awesome. We all do. We all know it. We all see it. But I don't think it needs to be that way. So I would like to just put another word in to support Farm to Family and Kim and Nick. So thank you.
All right, anyone else? Y'all coming up again or you leaving?
I'm just leaving. We're coming in duel.
All right. All right, we'll close our audience to the public session. Huh?
No. Thought we had one more. Better not to.
Huh? Okay. We'll reopen it.
I'll hurry up. I'll make it fast. Fonzio Daniels, 74 Roadway, St. Mary's, Georgia. I'd like to go ahead and thank all the efforts that you guys have been doing to help out Cumberland Oaks and the Pines on behalf of the citizens of those residents. Thank y'all, because what we understand is that there's a housing crisis right now. And understanding that we fix our housing crisis, you also increase, or I should say decrease, the crime in our area, which increase property value. So there's a lot of things that we take for granted when it comes to fixing these situations. And I would like to also hopefully invite you guys to stay out in those communities, because the more you stay out there, the less those things develop, the less those problems fester. So that's why I was out here today, because there's a lot of things that I wanted to get off my chest, and I'm thanking y'all for everything that you guys have been doing out there, and I hope you continue to stay out in those areas and maintain communication with them, because now they see that they can communicate with their leadership. And before, it was a closed door, so we've also bridged those barriers, and now all we need is for those efforts to continue on. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we'll close our audience to public session, and we'll now go to the approval of our consent agenda. Just to reiterate one time real quickly, the items on our consent agenda are item A, new business, item C, D, F, G, H, I, J, M, N, O, and Q. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rassi and second by Ms. King. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And I will now entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ingram and second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So our first item under old business is the Mission Trace Culvert Replacement Change Order Number 1 from Rao Contracting. And I actually asked, this to be put back on the agenda. I had gone out after our meeting with Mr. Marr and some of his crew to look at that situation out there and understand exactly what the specifics of the situation were. And there is a ditch culvert that leads into a drainage box, above which is a street drain, a curb drain that drops into the top of that box. But from there, on the backside, crossing the road is a diagonal pipe in the ground. And so it is well in, it's behind the culvert, it's behind the box, and would be very difficult to kind of ascertain exactly what was there. One of the things I discovered, I guess, through the process was that, what was bid, what was specified was a 15-inch culvert. That's what the contractor is legally bound to put it back in there because that was what he bid on. But what was in the ground was actually an 18-inch metal culvert, okay? So the area has been being drained by an 18-inch culvert. But we're switching up from the old metal pipe that was there to a concrete pipe, which is thicker. That additional thickness would cause issues with the road height and create a bump through there. And so there was the need for an elliptical drain, which gives the same water through without being quite as tall, to fix this issue. So the other thing that I found out in the, going back and refreshing my memory, I looked back at our council action in early May when we approved the contract, This particular bidder bid at, I believe it was $80,800. Our second bid was at $147,000 and some change, and our third bid was over $200,000. So the contractor really gave us a very fair bid, and to ask for $9,900 change to put in what should have been there that was not specified on the city bid, and in fact it's called for in the city master plan, master water sewer plan there. You know, for those reasons and the fact that, you know, we don't want to create an upstream flooding problem by not having the correct capacity through that line, I felt it was imperative that we bring that back and we talk about that again. And, you know, some of the things that Mr. Brumlow alluded to and others, you know, that it's a concern of mine is that you have a bidder, this particular bidder, Rao Contracting, was, I believe, our sole bidder after it went out for bid 2 or 3 times on the road construction for the Commerce Park at the airport. And they were the only person that put in a bid after that, went out multiple times trying to get bidders. And I hate to see a contractor, any contractor, decide they don't want to work with the city of St. Mary's, especially a good contractor that appears to give us fair pricing on their jobs, and, you know, scare them away because we're not going to be reasonable and evaluate each situation. I think we all want transparency. We all want the public to know why changes are being made and why expenses need to be done. I think it's incumbent upon us and our staff to put the very best bid specifications out there in the first place to try to avoid, you know, any change orders that could be pre-known, you know, by the quality of our bid. But I've done enough renovations to know that when you open up walls and you open up things that you can't necessarily see what's behind there all the time, and you make another trip or two to Lowe's, you know, and that's kind of what has happened here with this situation. And, you know, I too am concerned about inflated bids from our inflexibility to consider reasonable changes that might come up. I don't want to see prices being inflated over time where people bid, you know, knowing that they're not going to get an opportunity to put in a reasonable, unanticipated, you know, change or whatever. So that is why I asked this to be reconsidered by the council. So.
I have a question about the master plan. What type of pipe was shown on the master plan drawings?
18-inch is what I was told.
18-inch elliptical?
Just 18-inch volume.
Okay. Because there's no way that they could have done a visual inspection, field inspection on that pipe. And the as-built drawing that we sent out showed a 15-inch pipe.
Correct.
But they were able to look at the master plan drawings, especially since they couldn't do a visual inspection in the field.
They who?
The contractor. And should they, if they had done that, they would have seen the 18-inch pipe, right? I mean, all of that is available to them. And is that correct, Mr. Marr? Those master plan drawings for drainage are available for a contractor to go and take a look at them?
Yeah, all city documents, or for the most part, are subject to open records,
Right.
so everything's available. That is not part of their typical bid process, though.
Right, but if you go out there and you can't do a visual inspection, then you could go look at the drawings.
Yes, in this particular case, we had a survey from a licensed surveyor that called for a 15-inch pipe on his survey that was there.
That was on the as-built drawings.
That was on the survey, the field survey from the licensed surveyor that went out and shot everything. So the contractors were taking that surveyor's.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Mayor Lockhart said, and I'm certainly not naive about wanting to maintain vendor relations. But I think the reason that we voted this way the first time, and I come from a background where we'd had a lot of purchasing for sawmills, lots of engineering drawings. You know, there were times when, you know, the as-built drawings were not the same as what was there then, and we did have change orders. But I think the thing that we're trying to work hard to do is to make sure that when somebody bids on something for the city, they're informed about that as best as they can be. And we certainly, I will acquiesce that this may not have, this particular request for a change order may not have been the one that we needed to use to make an example of this. But what we're trying to do is change the upstream behavior of both any of our engineers at Public Works to check and double check their work before they send out the as-built drawings. And even when that happens, there may be some errors. But also make the contractor responsible for looking at all the information they can get about giving us a bid. So, you know, I think that is a worthy goal as well, and this is not an issue that is black and white for me.
And I agree with everything that's been said thus far. As a matter of fact, you know, Sean and I talked about this the other day, and I fully support the contractor. He's doing a marvelous job, and he has done a marvelous job for the city in the past. My problem is that we have at least 2 or 3 engineers in the road department that know that the master plan specified a certain size pipe. And if they didn't catch it, you know, I don't expect the guy that bid on the property to detect it. What I'm saying is we're paying too much money for people to overlook things like this. And I'm going to bring back an example, and I brought this up before with the Orange Hall change orders. A freaking drainage, you know, you don't have to have a engineering degree to know that you have to have a drainage in a commercial kitchen like that. And a mistake was made, and the taxpayers pay for it. So that's why I said I want to make sure that everybody's got all of the facts before they accept these bids or before they bid on these projects, because to me it seems like there's an inside deal for people to inflate the cost of a project even after it's gone to bid. And I don't want that to happen here. It happened several years ago when I was on the county commission, and I don't think the city of St. Mary's needs to fall for every change order. Now, you're right. If there's a project that you can't see behind walls and certain things come up, I don't have a problem with that. But you know, it's getting to the point where every project that we have, or every other project we have change orders. And if it can't be, these problems can't be caught in our engineering department, then we're paying people for nothing.
The reason we voted no, there's 3 no's and 2 abstentions, was to change behavior. And Ms. Keene already pointed out, maybe this was a bad one to drive a stake in the ground. I'll agree with that, but you got to drive it somewhere. I was talking with Chad. He says there's been 4 change orders in 12 months. He says some that would look pretty good. I say that's 4 too many, and that's not taking into account the last 5 years to get a proper and accurate average. Now, Chad's been here a little while, but Mr. Jones has been here a lot longer, and I know he's seen a whole bunch of change orders come across his desk, and that's why I understand his frustration with change orders. Nobody likes them in the home, And the city certainly doesn't like them when you keep getting them. Now, it's been pointed out about inflated bids. You call them inflated bids, I call them accurate bids. See, I don't believe we'll get no bids, and I believe that the bids we do get, they're going to triple check their work before they put a bid in if they know the city of St. Mary's does not accept change orders. So I think we do drive a stake in the ground, and what kind of made me a little bit upset is to even see this back on the agenda in the first place, because the motion failed, or the approval failed, and now it's back on the agenda. And I think for the same reason, if we're going to have the behavior, if we don't like something, we'll just put it back on the agenda and we'll just re-vote on it. When would that stop? We could just indefinitely just keep bringing it back up. So for that reason, I would actually make a motion that we remove this from the agenda item.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of removing the item from the agenda?
Aye.
3. All those opposed?
Aye.
And since I was the one who asked for it to be on there in the first place, I vote to leave it on the agenda. And I'd like to speak that just real quickly. Mr. Blackerby, maybe you could clarify for me, since the bid went out, specifying a 15-inch drain, is the contractor legally required to change it to what's there, or can he put it in, could he legally put it in at 15, given the bid that he did?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm gonna need to go back and look at the bid documents to be absolutely certain of this, but I think you're correct to ask that question, because they're not all change orders are the same, you know. To give you an example, I worked with another city that was dealing with a lot of change orders on a similar type project where some underground infrastructure was being installed under a road. The bid came in, the city accepted it, and then it turned out that there was a lot of subterranean concrete that nobody knew about, and so it made the job harder. Didn't change the ultimate specifications of what they had to do. They had to still put the same infrastructure in place, but it became more difficult than anybody anticipated. That's one type of change order, where you're still doing the same thing, it's just more difficult. The other type of change order is where you're changing the nature of what you're doing. So in this situation, if the bid documents specify that you're only required and you're only contractually agreeing to install a infrastructure of one type and size, and now you're being asked to change that and do something different, then I think you're correct that the contractor is just required to do what the contract requires. And if the contract just says it's a 15-inch pipe that has to be installed, and now we're saying, well, actually, we needed it to be bigger than that. But again, I've got to look at the bid documents.
Right.
I mean, if the bid documents and the contract says you also have to do it in compliance with these comprehensive plan documents, then perhaps that got incorporated as a requirement into what the contractor is required to do. But it's going to take some pretty close analysis of what the bid documents and the contract documents actually say.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, Jeremy, the reason I had it put back on was because of that capacity and my concern that the contractor could legally move forward with a 15-inch pipe that he bid on, and knowing that if we had upstream flooding, that we would now be liable for allowing that to occur, having known about it. And it's been public, it was public information, it was a meeting, there was a vote, that we could be liable for damage that's created by having less drainage there. And that was my concern. And that's why I asked to have it, because when I went out and found out exactly what happened and how, that's why I put it back on. Not just because I had sore feelings or whatever, but because I really felt that the city was opening itself up to liability by not putting in the correct size infrastructure. And I know there were comments were made at last meeting that, they can just put it in, they can pay for it or whatever, but I don't think they're required to do so, because that's not what they bid on. And so that's why I had it put back on, just to clarify that.
I understand.
And I didn't, my point was not to say that they shouldn't put it in and pay for it. My position was where the mistake was made, and I don't think it was made by the contractor. The contractor bid on what he saw. I think it was made internally. And that's why I say we're paying engineers to make sure that everything is neat and in order. And if they don't find it, I don't see how they could expect a contractor to find it.
I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I did go back and watch the meeting, and I saw a lot of points being made on this subject. And Ms. King brought up that the contractor should look at the master plan before making a bid, and I think you said that's not typical. Did any of the contractors that bid, to your knowledge, look at the master plan before bidding?
No, sir.
They did, so you know they didn't. So they did go off of our plans, and it just makes sense. Like, yes, there was an error made, and it seems that it was with our drawings that we had from the surveyor. But you know, definitely we need to try to stay on top of that and minimize issues moving forward. But there was a whole topic of conversation, and we're still having it, about change orders. And I agree, we don't like spending money after the fact or getting bled dry and nickel and diamond here or there. But I don't see it as a pandemic or problem currently. Yes, like Councilman Nascimento stated, I said we've had 4 change orders. This is the 4th in over the last 12 months. We've had 36 awarded jobs to contractors. We don't want them ever. I mean, I get it, but on a case-by-case basis, we have to look and approve them. If they make sense, like this one. This is like a glaring example of, yes, we don't want to run Rowell Contractor Construction off. Like, these guys put in a good, honest bid and a good, honest change order request. They actually took a deduction from their work when they made the change order because of a tree that wasn't an issue, if I remember right from the last meeting. But you know, when they did come in on their bid, they were significantly less, like Mayor Lockhart stated, than the next best contractor. I think it was like
67,000.
Yeah, $66,930. Right? Is that right? Yeah. That was the difference in bid. And the other contractors, had they seen the same plans at 18 inches, they would have came back with a change order request themselves. If we turned off Rowell Construction and they didn't want to complete the job and they decided to walk, I feel like we could be at a liability to them for, you know, putting out the plans for bid and changing in the middle of the game like what we expected, more expensive parts and materials. You know, if we had to get another contractor in, the next closest contractor was significantly higher. So, like, do we have to complete the job that way? There's a lot of examples, and I'm not going to get into everything I've put together just because it's just hammering it home, but it's a simple Google search. You know, if a city stops approving change orders, a construction project can be significantly impacted, leading to payment disputes, delays, potential lawsuits, project suspension. The exact outcome depends on the contract terms, reasons for change orders, and the city's justification for withholding approval. I just didn't see justification withholding approval of this one based off that contractor, or, you know, based off this situation individually. We don't want to run these guys off. Please, if they're watching, like, we want you to come back to St. Mary's, and we want to do good business and make good common sense decisions moving forward.
And again, my problem is not with the contractor.
Right.
My problem is not with the contractor.
Agreed.
In this case, yes. I mean, they're all different. I get it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All right, so take the a vote on whether to approve the change order in the amount of $9,900 from the existing highway and streets budget.
We have to make a motion.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the change order request.
Second. Okay, motion by Mr. Ingram, second by Mr. Connors. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any, those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we have 3 and 3 there, and I vote to approve the change order. Okay. Our next item for discussion.
Thank you.
Is the intergovernmental agreement for Parks and Recreation, item B, programming between the Camden County Public Service Authority, City of Kingsville, City of Woodbine, and City of St. Mary's. Didn't do this in the last one, I apologize, but let's go ahead and get a motion first. So moved. Motion by Mr. Rassy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones. Okay. Any discussion?
I guess the only concern I have, and I plan to vote to approve this, is that, you know, we left one very big item open on this, and that is what we're going to do. You know, it says we're going to agree to negotiate regarding the SPLOST money that was allocated to the county for the park maintenance. And, you know, we've had 6 months to work on this contract, and that's a big open item. So for those of you that were there at the negotiations, could you discuss what appears to be the thinking on how that money is going to be divided?
Yes, ma'am.
I guess one thing, if I'm not mistaken, I went back and looked at it, Lynn, after we discussed it, and it says that they agreed to negotiate SPLOST contributions for the purpose of capital improvements to PSA facilities, recreational service expansions, and enhancements. So that'd be moving forward SPLOST funds for the purpose of improving PSA facilities, not our facilities. So it's not the negotiation for the money specifically that you're talking about, but that's as far as what the agreement said. So.
But so then the whole agreement may be silent on that issue. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, as far as, you know, what the current SPLOST situation is.
For money that's already been
allocated
for maintenance of the parks.
Right.
And, you know, we're agreeing to take over the maintenance on the park, so I just want to know if the agreement is silent on that. That seems to be a big problem.
We've had conversation and we're still in the process of negotiation on that. We have seen what the fee that we normally pay has been reduced. Roughly, what, 180,000, I believe, is what it has roughly been reduced. PSA approved their budget with that reduction. You follow with me there? You kind of got that look. The other part, getting into the SPLOST side of it, there is money that is allocated for rehab of parks. That money was identified for 4 separate parks, and the conversation is splitting that for those 4 parks, which is our park here as well. There's also a little bit of chunk of money for some equipment. So that's where we're at right now with the negotiations on the SPLOST part. That's the thinking.
Is there a reason why we decided to leave the agreement silent on that then?
That we were trying to get this done in the time it was allocated, with the understanding that we would have that discussion in regards to the financials.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the discussion, you know, has to happen, needs to happen, because the vehicle and the mechanism for which those funds were going to be expended is being now altered after the fact of the SPLOST vote, you know, so, you know, and like I said, I mean, there are certainly different ways that it could be looked at. You know, it could be a per capita split, it could be a 25% split between the 4 parks. You know, there's, you know, we certainly don't feel that is an equitable split necessarily, based on usage of the facilities and population, those kinds of things. And so, you know, these are obviously contentious issues among the other, you know, other municipalities and things. And, you know, it's going to be a little while before that money's collected and money's available to be spent, as SPLOST collections go. So, you know, there was more significant time, you know, available to us to negotiate those things and try to get to a favorable position. But, you know, I think for that reason, as Robbie said, we were trying to get this deal done under the deadline of the extension. And, you know, everyone knows that those SPLOST discussions are going to happen and have to happen. So I don't know if you disagree with that at all, Mr. Blackerby. I mean, with you read through this document.
I mean, I've got concerns about the document.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of things that could be clarified. I don't think the PSA attorney has fully even reviewed it, and I think he had concerns as well.
So our attorney has concerns about the document. We've got a big issue that hasn't been addressed. What are possible ways that we can solve that before agreeing to it?
We can go back to them and.
So, yeah, I mean, we go back to them with specific concerns and, you know, we may end up with a special call meeting, you know, to try to get this. I think it's the end of the month,
I think so.
I think it's the end of the month before, you know, the initial extension. So either all the municipalities and counties would have to get together to do an additional extension and I know the county, I think, has already passed this document in their meeting or whatever, but they may, you know, if we don't approve it, then obviously they would be, you know, having to look at it again. So, I mean, we could, we could force that issue, I guess.
Yep.
So, is there any other discussion? We take a vote. So we have a motion and discussion. Motion would be, I guess, to approve the way it is.
Wait,
Sir, oh, I apologize. We had a motion, Councilman Rassi, to approve and second by Councilman Jones.
Right, that's correct.
so we're going to vote on that.
So, right, we'll be voting on that. We'll be voting to approve. So, all those, yeah, Scott.
I mean, if we do approve, can we fix verbiage after the fact of any
Well,
way?
I think probably the correct thing to do maybe is to vote to disapprove, make those changes, you know,
Bring it back.
Mr. Blackaby, get back with the PSA attorney and in short order and try to get a revised document back that we're happy with, and then, you know, they'll have to just bring that back themselves.
You want me to resend it?
If I remember,
You want me to resend it, or we're gonna vote on
Not rescind, withdraw.
it? Withdraw.
Withdraw.
Excuse
Enjoy
me.
your motion.
If he wants, so to.
Yeah.
You
Either
can still
way,
vote
I
no,
don't know.
even though you
Either
made a
way.
motion, you could still vote no.
Yeah, we can just vote no.
Yeah, just vote no. You could make a motion and vote against it.
Withdraw.
What's your preference? We just go ahead and take the vote, you want to rescind?
I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
Okay. All right,
And I withdraw my second.
okay. So without a motion, this matter dies at this point. So we'll try to get together and get those changes back to the county and see if we can get some movement on those issues. All right, thank you.
I just want to check, was everyone in agreement? I didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All in.
Okay, next item for discussion is item E, budget ordinance amendment.
So I apologize.
Yes,
Were
ma'am.
you all, and I could have missed, were you all just tabling this item?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. Budget ordinance amendment 2026, general fund equity aquatic center repairs. So go ahead and ask for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Rassi,
Yes, please.
Rassi and Mr. Connor. All righty. Any discussion?
Yeah, I know this money is there to be released. I plan on voting yes for it as well, but I would like to task management to come up with a work session about what we want to do with the aquatic center. And what I mean by that is I put it in the bracket of three options. Option number one, do exactly what we're doing with exactly how we're doing it and make repairs as needed. Option two, expand it. There's been plans, we've talked to staff, and they've even have conceptual drawings of some ideas that would grow the aquatic center and maybe possibly charge the fee we need to charge to one day bring it net revenue neutral. And then option three is to maybe sell to a private company that can maybe do a lot more things that maybe we couldn't do or don't have the budget to do. I'm good with option 2 and 3, but this thing of just, 174, up, 300,000, up, and we just keep piecemealing and we keep patching and we keep putting Band-Aids, That's the only one I'm not for, and I don't feel that council has clear direction what they even want to do with the aquatic center. So what I would love the task management to do is to just come up with a work session to decide, do we want to sell it? Do we want to expand it, or is everyone good, and maybe I'm the only one that is good with just keep putting Band-Aids on it? Because I think that puts a lot of strain on staff, and this is going to be a constant issue that comes up, and now's the time to do it. Now is the off-season. I do not want to wait till next year and be like, oh, we got a whole bunch of stuff to do. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now we're fighting. We should sell it. We should take it off our plate. So I just think we need a work session on what we want to do with the aquatic center.
I agree with that, and could we, as part of the work session, have a list of known repairs that need to be made
yes.
with the approximate cost?
All repairs, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is a fourth option,
I,
a lease option, sorry.
I agree, and I'm gonna vote for it, but I agree with you. We need to, look in the future, and with even having a work session, I look at option 2. We need to expand it and find out a way to make it neutral. I think we should keep it, but.
Yeah, and I do lean towards that option too before our work session, but, I definitely am against option 3. If there was another option, it'd be an option 4, and that would be where the city can maintain control over the maintenance of the park. But if there was a company that wanted to come in and lease it and take a lease space,
Yeah,
that would be
go
an
with that
option
too.
versus
Yeah.
selling it. The reason why we have these, a lot of just repairs that keep coming up was because when it was with the PSA, there was a lot of deferred maintenance that didn't get taken care of. So a lot of the costs that we have are things that popped up because the deferred maintenance, the maintenance of the park wasn't taken care of when the PSA had it.
Yep.
We've taken control. We put a lot of money into it since then because things that should have been done or taken care of properly were not. So it's a little more costly now as we've caught those things up.
Yeah.
I agree with Councilman Ingram on that because there was maintenance that should have been done that wasn't. And so I just think once we get this thing back to where we need to have it running and have the have-tos, wants, and wishes. Have-tos are what have to be done to keep it going. Wants are things that we can possibly do down the road. And wishes if we want to add stuff, so.
Yeah, I'm just not for what we're doing right now. All those other options, if somebody accused me of, oh, you want to get rid of the aquatic center, false. All those other options make the aquatic center better.
Yeah.
All those other options. So the only thing that I'm not for is exactly what we're doing. And we've made more progress in 5 minutes just talking about it up here than I've heard since the 8 months that I've been on council. So I think a work session is definitely called for.
All right. There's no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion to amend the budget?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
All right. Our next item for discussion is item K. It is the resolution for 90-day moratorium on any new planned development district, major rezoning, major subdivision, conceptual and preliminary plat application, and civil plan reviews.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. I've asked our city engineer, public works engineer, Chris Amos, to come up and join me in this discussion. So what's before you is a 90-day moratorium on any new planned development district, major rezoning, major subdivision, conceptual and preliminary plat applications, and civil plan reviews. I just want to kind of give you a little cliff notes on the development process. So every entitlement that land has for its development potential is given through zoning, right? My office and I, we work with landholders and potential developers years in advance of an actual project going vertical, being built, dirt being turned. And that's usually at the stage of the zoning. Probably for about, and let me just start by saying that this moratorium is not it's not a zoning ordinance, it's not a future land use plan, it's not the way that we want to approach development in certain areas. What it is a capacity issue, a critical capacity issue in how sewage is conveyed to our treatment plants. So there's been some confusion about this because we have ample capacity in our plants. What we're lacking, and we need to take a hard look at the infrastructure for, is the conveyance of sewerage from the site where a project is built to the treatment plant. So Chris and I have been collaborating quite a bit on this, and about a month ago, we started to look at certain projects that had already, in these critical areas, gone down the pipeline of land use to a point where the zoning was there, the civil plan set was approved, building permits were approved, land had been turned, utilities were going in, and they were getting ready to go vertical. And those projects we have a concern for in areas. So this request is a request to pause. It's a request to take a hard look with our engineering partners and the good guidance that's in the utility master plan to look at the areas, look at citywide, look at where we have some capacity issues, and hopefully over the course of 90 days, it could be shorter, come up with a stepwise plan. And with that, I think I'll leave it to Chris to do more technical discussion.
So as Jamie and I have been looking at these developments, I'm going to stand a little bit further away.
You're fine, go ahead.
There's a lot going on where in areas where we have some concern about sewer capacity downstream. As she said, we have plenty of capacity at the treatment plant. Both treatment plants have capacity now. One of them, Scrubby Bluff, is about to go back online. We recently got a waste load allocation to double the capacity of Scrubby. England, Timms, and Miller is currently working on the next steps to get that done. We have Volkert working with us to try to analyze all of these basins and try to figure out what the best solutions are. We have a really good master plan that was done by Freeze Nichols that identifies lots of projects, some of which are rather expensive, that we need to implement to be able to maintain capacity. One basin in particular is where a lot of the development that is in the area around the hospital and Walmart is all going to a pump station near Dark Entry Creek, which is very stressed right now, very, very stressed right now.
That's good.
And we're looking at several different options for how we can, one of them in sort of baby steps, add more capacity to that pump station and the system downstream of that while we work out these bigger picture items, issues that are upstream of that. Some of that involves the Exit 1 project. We are now, at one time, quite a bit of the wastewater from Exit 1 was going to come all the way down to Sugar Mill. It now appears that we're going to be able to do all of that at Scrubby Bluff instead, and that opens up a lot of other opportunities for us to solve these sewer problems. And we really didn't get that word from ETM until last Friday.
Yeah.
So we're working hard to try to solve these problems, but we're concerned that if we don't pause for a little while till we figure out the solutions, then we're going to have some very much larger problems upon us pretty quickly.
Thank you. That helps.
So the pause, so if I have a lot and I want to develop it, just my own personal home, I can still do that.
Yeah, I'll let Jamie address that because she wrote the.
Yeah, thank you. So I think when we talk about major subdivisions, this is 6 or more lots. So if you own a lot in Osprey Cove or Cumberland Harbor and downtown and you want to build your single-family residence, this would not apply.
So I don't see where like commercial businesses are stated. Are we still allowing open for business for commercial space?
I think this is the part where it gets a little bit, the analysis is needed. If you're working in a commercial area that has already been developed and you're just doing a redevelopment, this wouldn't apply. If you're looking to add new flushing, I don't have a better word for it, then we'd have to, Chris would analyze that.
And we're going to have to look at that on a case-by-case basis. It depends on which basin it's in and depends on how much waste load it's going to require to be able to handle the project. We currently have two other large pump stations that Public Works has been working on for a very long time. Pump Station 13, which is on Douglas Drive, which we have the final plans ready to go to bid. I believe we are right on the cusp of having the final steps taken with the grant money that's going to pay for that, so that I can go out to bid. That's the biggest and most important pump station in the city. And Pump Station 15, which is in Sugar Mill, we have plans for that as well. We're working with a local developer to acquire property from him to construct 15 on, right next to where it currently sits. And that one's close to going out, and that's going to solve two of the biggest bottlenecks, leaving the third one, which is everything going to 42, which the whole Scrubby Bluff, the resolution of the Scrubby Bluff plant issues is made a little bit easier to fix.
Could we possibly be open, to actually approve permits, with stipulations that there's not a water sewer agreement, that they just won't be able to get a CO and that wouldn't be awarded until, the solutions are in place?
And we've had a lot of discussion about developers agreements, including with a couple of developers in the last week, and about how we can implement that. And some of it is going to depend on, we need to meet with the attorney and see how we can structure these things, and how much money is that developers agreement going to generate versus what the improvement costs are going to be. One of the projects, if we pull the 42 and the downstream pump station from that, if we had to implement the master plan fix on that, it's $12.5 million. And that's going to be probably a little difficult to raise all of that from developers' fees, which is why we're trying to look at other options that will fix that problem at a lower cost. But I can't answer that question today. No, none of us can.
If it's not a total hindrance, I'd like to have a work session before the next meeting and then vote on this the next meeting so you can have those answers.
The only thing that I would like to say about that is that my office entertains discussions with developers on a daily basis, several developers a day. It is I don't think, a good professional practice for me to be engaging with the development community on major rezonings or major subdivisions when I know that perhaps there will not be sufficient capacity for that development. And so that's why I've hit the pause button. Because I know it's a difficult conversation to have now when you're beginning down the land use pipeline, but what's worse is when you're looking to actually connect to the sewer, you've done your utilities and you're ready to go, and we tell you, sorry, no. So I'm trying to get a year or more in advance of this with a temporary pause.
I guess one of the things that, sitting here thinking about the situation, we come up with a plan, we're able to, really look at the situation, see where the bottlenecks are, and put forward some possible solutions. The implementation of those solutions is going to be timely. I mean, it's going to take months, before those things can be engineered, go out to bid, and actually be constructed and brought online. I don't have the exact time frame, obviously, but I mean, I'm guessing we're looking at probably minimum 6 to 9 months for, even a fairly minor project to, that would make a significant impact in improving the situation that I'm kind of hearing here, and I guess that's the disconcerting part, that those of us who are hearing from the developers and their concerns, but as Ms. Stein has said, people are going to be a whole lot more upset when they start flushing their toilets and it's backing up in their house, brand new houses, because there's nowhere for it to go. It is the stark reality of our current situation with infrastructure in St. Mary's and the improvements that we need to find solutions for.
And I don't think that the infrastructure doesn't have to be operational for us to be able to tell some of these developers they can go. We just have to have a plan in place so we know how long it's going to take to get there.
Yeah.
And trying to tell them yes now, and we don't really know how long it's going to take to get sewer capacity online for their project is not a good situation for us to be in.
You're right. So we feel like that within this 90-day moratorium, we can have that plan kind of in place by the end of that to kind of know what those solutions and those timeframes might be?
Yes, sir.
And costs, I mean.
And cost, yes,
Okay.
and cost.
I think this is why a capital improvement plan is so important. I know we have one come due November, but we need one every year for exactly this type of thing. And I trust Jamie completely, Mr. Amos, our Public Works Department. I think y'all are brilliant in what you do. And I'm constantly in awe of the decisions you make and your vision, so I support you wholeheartedly. But I have a bleeding heart for businesses. I mean, I ran for all the citizens of St. Mary's, but a heart in particular for developers and people that are trying to do business in St. Mary's to make it thrive. And, and I know maybe some of our developers, even in this room, and property owners have spoke to some of council, but maybe, I don't know if you want to, you don't have to, but maybe it'd be good for the council to hear from you if you have any concerns. Because, we've heard from them, we know what needs to be done. Does anybody in the room want to take the mic and address something? Go ahead. I think it's only fair if you just give your name and address.
My name is Walter Jocelyn. I own Jocelyn Homes Construction Company. We just had a moratorium a couple months ago, I guess. It was for something different. Now there's another moratorium. What I'm trying to propose is I'm building a commercial building in the Satilla Business Park. It's an office suite. No one's spending the night. You're not having 3 meals a day. There are no showers. I understand there's a problem. It makes complete sense. I do not understand how 6 houses or 6-house neighborhood is okay, or less than 6 houses. I don't understand how multiple houses and residential houses is okay, but one small commercial building. The language in this I don't meet the requirements. According to this, it would be approved. My permit was submitted prior to this. Chris called me last Friday and said, hey, I think I can, I'm working on this. It's a delicate process. I texted him today, no response. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. But from listening tonight, I feel like it's a big deal, and it shouldn't be. The lots are already developed. I'm not putting in infrastructure. They've been there. It's Satilla Business Park. It's been dormant for, I don't know, however long it's been built. Probably 15 years. I bought these things 2 years ago. Finally decided to build something, submit my permit before all of this talk. No one has called me except for Chris, only because I think I called him first. Did I call you first, I think?
I think you did.
So no one even called. So basically my permit was gonna die on the vine. This was gonna get passed, and then when I called and checked on my permit, I feel confident it would have been, sorry, the council just passed a moratorium last night. That's not fair. I met all the other requirements. There was no moratorium. My plans are submitted. It's just literally a 9-office building. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me on this project. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Can I address any of that?
You can.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So there are 2 commercial developments that are in this really problematic basin. His is one. We have both of those plans in the review process right now. I've been in contact with the engineers for the larger one. I've been doing the analysis on his myself. I think that I'm going to be able to let his go through, but all of that wastewater, it includes all of the hospital, all of Walmart, all of Shadowlawn, all of Brant Creek Apartments, the 148, 44 units of Seacoast Apartments is under construction. The Paddocks Phase 1, which is already approved, and it's going to a pump station which is running 20 hours a day and is pumping less than the pump station that's from Shadowlawn that's pumping into it. So it's a serious concern. It's not a minor little issue. It's a serious concern. And we're working very hard to try to resolve that. He texted me today. I was meeting with Bill Powell from Volkert going over all of this stuff when he texted me. I just had not had a chance to get back to him yet. But I think I'm going to be able to let that one go. I'm not sure I can let the other one go. It's much, much larger. And my concern is we know we have a problem. We allow development to occur in the basin with the problem. We get an overflow into Dark Entry Creek, And EPD is looking at the fact that we allowed development to continue in a basin that we knew did not have capacity to handle the development. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Danny Wheeler. I've got one of the...
Address, please.
132 Bryce Ryan, Kingsland, Georgia. I own probably one of the most problematic parcels there is. The developers had this under contract now for 8 months. This has just come up as an issue. We know it's problematic. The only thing I'm asking for consideration is to come in and allow some of these things, some of the process to work out, some of the planning issues, some of the preliminary plats, zoning issues. That's going to be a part of the process anyway. With some verbiage in there, letting the developer know that there is no sewer and water conveyance, or I hate using capacity because, again, that's not the issue. It's the conveyance of the sewage. Letting the developer know this is an issue and letting them continue on with, to a certain point, a part of their project. The county is doing this with Bridgepoint, and they're on private water and sewer. They're issuing permits, but with the understanding they're not going to sign off on the CO until they have proper documentation for being able to tap into to tap into water and sewer. That's the only thing that I'm really looking for, is just to let the discussion and the process continue forward, because it shaves time on their end. If we're only talking about a 9-month solution to fix the problem. To start a development project, it's going to take every bit of 12 months, every bit. And of course, there's still going to be communication between developer and the city as well. So we're all still going to be in the communication process, just allowing the rezoning preliminary plats to continue forward. That's it.
I think that's a fair ask. Ms. Jamie, can you speak to some of that, or why he's just asking for some preliminary stuff beforehand?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I think there was a memo that I wrote about this to council, and one of the things I want to be clear about is I am being very forthright with the development community about this. Exactly what Mr. Wheeler said, I'm letting people know about that. And it's a line in the sand. So from one perspective, yes, we could allow it to continue and move forward and entitle land, perhaps without the infrastructure to support that development. But if you're on the side of negotiating a contract and you hear news from the development director that conveyance may not be there for you when you're ready to go, they thanked me for that information. So this is very difficult, it's very complex. I understand the concern, but I think that this is a moment where there are several different players in these contracts and in development, and it's difficult, if not impossible, for my office to understand all those different complexities. So the approach has been give the information. And when you give the information, there's many different decisions. Some developers has decided, you know what, we've invested so much in this project already, we're going to take down the land for $1 million and proceed. Others tell me, no, that's enough, that's a line in the sand, we can't move forward. So, there isn't an easy fix there. We're trying to be understanding and accommodating, but I think these conversations need to happen very early on. The second point I want to make is that in any rezoning or any subdivision, in the criteria that the Planning Commission is reviewing is this idea of infrastructure and capacity, and if the development would cause fiscal instability for the city. So those are decisions that the Planning Commission is reviewing, and that's long before something gets a civil plan set and goes vertical.
Okay, thank you.
So if we approve the moratorium today, we could, if we realize, we could amend it midstream if we realize we've created a problem that we don't need or wasn't necessary. So we could have a work
Yeah.
session and.
We absolutely have every ability to lift the moratorium. Right now, this is really we need some more information, you know.
Mr. Blackerby, if we, like I said, put the moratorium in place, and then as Mr. Amos said, they determined through this initial evaluation that Mr. Jocelyn's project per se was, smaller, could go through, are we okay to allow something like that to go through while the moratorium is on, or is that?
I would be uneasy about selectively applying a moratorium. If it's adopted, it's adopted, and I would say it needs to be applied equally to everyone. I don't,
But does the moratorium actually cover his project?
Not technically, no.
So I think there's a gray area there anyway.
Hurry and go start moving dirt.
I say, if they say yes, quit talking.
That's right. Okay. Any other discussion?
That's hard.
Anything to add, Mr. Stein? No? All right, thank y'all so much. Like I said, I know this is a difficult situation, that no easy solutions, and as I've been known to say, nothing but time and money to fix all these problems.
Amen.
We don't have enough of both, but we'll continue to work on it. So, any other discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and, so we have the motion to, let's see, did we get a motion yet?
Not yet. No.
Okay, so,
No.
all right, so can we have a motion on this issue? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the 90-day moratorium.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. No.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item I, right-of-way encroachment license agreement between the City of St. Mary's and Kraken Coffee and Kitchen Company, City's Creative Uses Right-of-Way Pilot Program. Ms. King, Ms. Stein.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I heard everything that was said this evening. I understand some of our concerns. If I can reflect back on when this process started, so forgive me here, I have some notes. We began discussions with the HPC in December of 2024 on this, and I think that if I recall, it was in the aftermath of the Osborne median being done. We don't typically put, we don't put right-of-way projects before the HPC. The Osborne median is an example. The new beautiful wrapping of the oak trees with lights. These are what I would call right-of-way improvements. But because of some of the, recognition that these are elements in the historic district and that they should go before the Historic Preservation Commission for information, for feedback. Not an official certificate of appropriateness, no, we didn't do that for this particular project, but we did discuss it. Then in February of 2025, there was a creative uses of the right-of-way work session that Ms. Candace Pullum and I gave to you all. In that, there was a memo which was done collaboratively with HPC that talked about this pilot program. I have copies of that here. It gave a defining boundary, Osborne Street, south of Dillingham. If there's insufficient sidewalk or outdoor space to engage customers, challenges with accessibility, and that the submission must be semi-permanent. So this was kind of, discussed, I'll say that, with many different entities. And then the most recent meeting we had was with the Development Authority of St. Mary's, in which we sat with the applicant and discussed some of the more design-oriented criteria, recognizing that there are a lot of parties involved in this design, the DDA, DASM, Main Street, HPC, the applicant, everyday residents of St. Mary's. My guidance to the applicant was that the right-of-way encroachment license, which is before you this evening, be sought. And if that was given the green light, then we could begin the design process. And I know that DASM, the Development Authority of St. Mary's, wants to support that with a grant. So that was the thinking, that was the approach. More than happy to hit the pause button, but just also want to remind you, this has been a year in discussion.
One of the things that, as part of the way I understood the process, like you said, was that, and I have some concerns. I'm not a traffic engineer. I don't know if 600 pounds of water is going to stop a vehicle. I do realize that this particular location is relatively short from an acceleration standpoint, since they're, they can start at the waterfront, but they can start at the waterfront moving, coming off of St. Mary Street. So they can certainly get up to 25 or 35 miles an hour without much trouble before they reach this area. I'd like to hear eventually when we get into the actual implementation of this, something about steel bollards or something, that could be decorated, what are you saying, right? Bobby's back there shaking his head, no steel bollards? I don't know if there's a way to put a sleeve in the ground, have a bollard that could slide down in there or whatever, But, having, then you could put a decorative encasing on the outside of that. You could, frame it up with some 1x8s and some trim, and it looks like a decorative painted post or something with that metal superstructure underneath. Those are design elements, but those are also things that I want to see to make sure that we feel like we have a very safe environment for the folks that are sitting there as that process and that design process goes forward. But, I personally am in favor of the encroachment license to allow that process to begin, and then everyone will have an opportunity to talk about that. But that's my...
Well, I don't want to hit pause on it. As Ms. Stein pointed out, it's been a year. But I think Ms. Julia had some great points, and I wrote a bunch of them down. And to use her words, I think everybody wants this. She said, we have a lot to gain from this, and this is a great pilot. It is a pilot, and Kraken's doing great. I'd love to see them continue to do great. I'm glad we chose this for the pilot. But just simply put, why can't we just lower the speed down to 15 miles an hour?
That's what I was.
And just
I agree.
lower it down to 15 miles an hour. Let's just make it safe. That seems to be the problem. We're still waiting, Mr. Blackerby, on a verdict. I think, was it October for the Milton case?
That case is in the Georgia Supreme Court. Briefs have been submitted, and city actually, I signed off on one of the briefs in support of the city of Milton in that case. It's not been decided yet.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I don't know how quickly it will
it'll be spring before we have a determination from the court, I assume, so, yeah.
The Georgia Supreme Court can take as much time as.
Oh, I'm sure. But just to address, we want it, we think it's exactly what we want. We are a walkable city. Slowing the speed down to 15 miles an hour anyways just makes it even easier for right-of-way pedestrians and it to be a biking, walking, slow-moving downtown, which I think is what everybody wants. So I would love to see this just go forward, lower the speed to 15 miles an hour. That would be the perfect case scenario.
Can you give me a landmark on, you said the parklets are from Dillingham toward the waterfront. Where is that exactly?
So Dillingham is right here.
Right here.
Yep. And then just to the end of Osborne. Yeah.
Okay.
Has there been any other interest in any other businesses thus far?
Yes.
How far do those extend down Osborne?
Brackish Beer has been the only other.
If it is a pilot program, kind of like the marina started. You know, we built a small marina, and then there's you know, if it's successful, phase 2, phase 3 may be in the works if that's down the street. So to take up the curbs, if only thus far, I would suggest possibly yes, since it is a pilot program, if we do move forward, reducing the area down to East Bryant Street to just incorporate those 2 blocks. And then after the pilot program, if we figure it out, it's just on the end, it's a little safer down there than up and down Osborne this far down, then possibly in the future expanding that zone, but start it smaller and expand it if it's successful, we want to do it.
I agree. That's a good idea.
And Stable Alley, are there reasons why we wouldn't want to use that because it's not on the main thoroughfare? Or are we trying to do a pilot on Osborne?
I think-
One thing is it is an alley, and so it is significantly smaller there, the right-of-way, and that road is potentially going to be an egress or ingress, probably egress for the hotel eventually, which was one of the reasons I early on mentioned we need to make sure we clip this corner here to allow people to turn off of that, out of that alley. So, I think that could potentially, with the hotel development down, would make that a poor choice because you'd be taking up half of that space or more in that roadway.
Yeah.
And with it only being a narrow alley to start with, it's only 20-something feet, 25 feet maybe, or the alley? Do you know, Bobby? 36. 36 feet? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think when these conversations originally started, so I think the day that the Kraken opened, I got a phone call asking how we can stop parked cars from rolling their tires all the way up to the sidewalk there and basically being on the sidewalk right by the front door. That was the first conversation. And we thought, well, maybe let's try to do something creative. Second topic was the crowd that is going to head to Cumberland Island could be down there by the water and look up Osborne and see something that sparkles, and then they head up there to patronize the businesses. Those were the 2 ideas.
Yeah.
And that's,
And part of me saying reducing the area is parking altogether. We have the events, festivals, parking is limited, and now we're taking up spaces, and I know we're making an ACA space for Kraken, but, the reduced area may be a good idea, again, if we move forward. If we do approve the permit tonight,
the encroachment license. The encroachment license.
If we approve that, what would be their timeline? Do you have an idea of what that looks like to be in approving a design and approving the structure itself?
Yeah, the Development Authority of St. Mary's would like to have a kind of a grant program to support this, so I think that design would have to be done with that other entity. The applicant is very close with many of the other more legal documents associated with the cafe permit, so it's really just that opportunity for collaborative design. I know that the weather right now is perfect. I know they really want to get started, so I would imagine it's a month or 2.
So it does say that the city can change the encroachment area at will?
Yes.
So that would mean the design and everything, the safety features, all of that would come back to us in a separate
That was not the original
proposal?
plan, but we could do that if the area changes or if you want to change the proposed area.
And I do believe, I mentioned this to you earlier today, but you probably didn't have a chance to look into it, but other cities that have these areas, do they have a recommended speed limit, or, did you have a chance to look at that, or have you got any recommendations for? Yeah. I didn't think so, I just talked to you.
I know in the area in Old Town Alexandria where they have just every store pretty much has one of these, that road's not open to traffic.
Yeah.
So, and that might be a future consideration, that,
that's a possibility.
Turn off Osborne if this becomes a big thing, but, yeah.
I don't know, those are all the issues, that we, and it is a pilot, but could we have the cafe applications completed with the safety features, et cetera, come back to us to take a look at? I think, we need to really look at our liability issues and also make sure the design features are in keeping with what we want. I agree. I mean, I love the idea. I think it would be great for us.
It's not a typical process in the city's cafe permit ordinance, but I think if you were to request it, I don't see any problem with that.
I think, like I said, maybe since just for this first one and, like I say, because it is in the pilot nature, but, as we move down the road, I don't think we necessarily want to be stepping on the
Right.
toes and slowing progress, but, I could see for this first one, maybe taking that additional step, so.
And
I don't know if
could
we
we,
need to modify anything in order to make that happen, so. okay.
could we task city with checking on speed limit for the area that we are going to make the pilot area? And do we want to make that area smaller? I think that's a good idea, too.
To get, yeah, I do believe so, because at least at the end of the road, it is a safer area because it's at the end, especially coming from the waterfront towards Kraken. But yeah, I definitely want us to visit speed concerns and safety and liability. I mean, we had this thing on hold, and I guess I'd almost, for a period of time, forgotten about the Milton case, and it has yet to be resolved. So we want to make sure that we are not at liability.
Yeah, that happened in 2016, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor of the right-of-way encroachment license agreement approval? No, we still don't have a motion. We need a motion.
I make a motion
To
Motion
approve.
that
That
we
we
proceed
approve it.
forward
Oh.
and approve this.
Second.
And can we add to that the, this first cafe permit comes back to council
Said we didn't need to put that.
for approval?
The city, the attorney, and they said that we didn't need to put
We
that
don't
in
need
this.
that. Okay, all right.
And it's coming back here before anything else happens. So.
Need
All
a
right.
need a second, right?
Now, we got a second by Mr. Nascimento. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I didn't see Mr. Jones move down there, but I'm gonna say he approved, so. Silence his approval. I read that somewhere. All
Thank you, sir.
right, let's see that.
Past my bedtime.
Sir?
I think our young lady with the
Yes.
Daughters of American Revolution is here. If you
So we read your proclamation earlier.
I'm so sorry. I apologize for being late. I apologize.
Is there any more waters down there? Is there another water over there? Is that one unopened? Perfect.
It's warm.
That's totally fine.
It's wet, yeah.
It's wet, that's right.
No, we have one more agenda item.
Y'all make sure Greg shut that thing, not let that breeze.
Well, yeah, we still have two things on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much.
I'll be quick, I promise. Give me
Thank you.
1 minute.
want a DAR contest.
Right.
And we still do those essays for our middle school and our elementary school. Thank you so much.
In reality, my mother wrote most of it.
Oh, no, don't tell her that.
We still got things we gotta do, right? Yes, sir.
But
I know,
he had to
I
do
know.
that too.
All righty.
What else?
Oh, we're missing two, is that
We
okay?
have item
P.
P, what happened?
P.
You got a bathroom break. You stay here long enough, people gotta go.
I guess you gotta go. Well,
I think it's the agenda item.
we have a quorum still. What?
P, the agenda item, that's where he went.
P, yeah, P is appropriate. Fourth quarter town hall and development progress update.
This was just for clarity. You had a 5 PM and a 6 PM. What is it 2 different times for 2 different things?
Yes, sir. You have the development, there's progress update at 5 o'clock, and then the fourth quarter is at 6.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
October 2nd.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
All right, so is everybody else okay with that? We'll get a motion to approve those dates?
It's already set. This is just in case you all need to, it's automatically set as this date.
Okay. All right, so we don't need to vote.
No, sir.
Okay. And our last item was item R, Mr. Nascimento's agenda item to use former military as possible volunteers to supplement security in the schools. Obviously, it's something that would eventually have to go before the school board for their approval on their property, but certainly open up the discussion with what you had in mind there.
I'll be quick because I know we've been here a long time. One of the things, probably second to the roundabout on Winding and Colerain, is my phone and email box being flooded with, there's an obvious raise in temperature in the country. I think in the last 2 weeks we had 3 instances in a elementary and in the high school with school threats. Of course, you had the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and parents in particular understandably are ultra concerned about the safety of their young people in schools. And I've had tons of people that message on a weekly basis, what are we doing about that? And of course, the school board, this is their property, would have the big say. But what I would like to propose is there are so many people that are former military veterans. We have both active and former law enforcement that would love to volunteer their time to patrol our schools. And to Mr. Larry White's point, that is something that would need to be discussed. What would they be able to do? That would be a question for Mr. Galloway. He left early, and maybe he'd be able to speak to it. But I would like people even listening to look up Jefferson City School District in Georgia. They have implemented this and have had great success. I believe they started it in 2022. Also look at Vets Securing America as another thing to look up if you wanted to go the private route, which I believe we have enough volunteers. We wouldn't even need to go with an outside organization. But if I could task anything, I would love to task the staff to just go to the school board about that. And for the people that are either in this room that think that might be a good idea, or for the people listening at home, I would challenge you to email your school board and to start bringing this before them that they would like to see. I think it's peace of mind for the parents. As a parent of 2 teenagers and an 8-year-old, I know this would make me feel better. But I think it's something that people want to do something, people want to help. This wouldn't be a burden on the school nor on the city. And this is something that would both make it safer, and I'd much rather see somebody that loves our country and loves our kids with a bright colored vest patrolling our school rather than a big huge fence wrapped around a playground like we're Alcatraz. I think that's not a look that we want in St. Mary's, and I would much rather see this go into fruition. But that's all I got. If you guys want to add anything to it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad. Go ahead. I can talk.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to point out that St. Mary's was very proactive after Chief Galloway came on board here. We were short-staffed, and he's done a great job of filling out our police force. And at that time, the county, the sheriff at the time had, made a promise to put a school resource officer at every school. Well, they weren't staffed well enough, and it wasn't being taken care of, where they were kind of sharing schools and making a rotation, and especially the elementary schools, they didn't have a whole lot of force present. And Chief Galloway took it personal, wanted to make sure that St. Mary's was covered. So St. Mary's is actually proactive and does have a school resource officer at every school in St. Mary's. So that being said, before it goes to the school board, I think that we should actually discuss it with, our school resource officer program and see if they, have a need, but B, want to put together a program where they do work with volunteer citizens to help patrol the schools. I kind of like, it reminds me of Beverly Hills Cop. We can call it Cop Citizens on Patrol. So anyways, sorry, it's not 80s movies. But anyways, I think that we should start with our law enforcement and, see if there's a need, and they want to help incorporate that program with the volunteers, and then they can help present it to the school board as something we want to proceed with.
One thing I will share with everybody is that with the school system, I have a press box crew at the football games, and I have to submit my list of volunteers for approval from the school system in order for them to work at the school. So that would be not just at the high school, it would be every school system, so. And it's just they're just betting out and making sure everybody's good to go. So,
And it's my understanding from what I've read online, I hadn't talked to Dr. Green about this or anything, but it's my understanding that they're going to have in middle school and high school, they're actually going to have the devices at all the doors that's going to beep or whatever if somebody were to come in there with any type of metal or whatever. So I think that's a good thing. So Jeremy, my question for you would be, are you talking about those people being within the school all day long? Or you're talking about those people being
On the
before
perimeter.
school and after school only?
Or just patrolling the area. But
Yeah,
you could do both.
exactly.
But it's a deterrent. We have a watchdog program at our church where periodically people are both walking the halls and they're
do that
walking
at our church.
outside. And it's a deterrent that just someone sees them there actively patrolling from anything happening. And you don't have to have someone there all 6 hours. Maybe someone wants to take 3 and another. That's 2 people a day. That's if you did 3 and 3, you know, from the start of school to the end of school. It's not like it would take a bunch of time, but it would be a deterrent from anybody trying to do something. And usually that's enough.
Well,
just the fact that they see you.
Dr. Green at the high school, which is our superintendent, she is totally awesome, and she does a great job. And keeping our kids safe is the number one most important thing from her, I'm sure. And the number two thing is probably, I'm not going to say that, education and then Wildcats. So I'll just put it like that. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, and like I said, I know, Jeremy, you said that you mentioned it to Chief Galloway before he had to go, and that he showed some positive,
Yeah, he thought it was-
thoughts about it, and so definitely we can continue those conversations with him and look at some of the programs these other places have, and then, and let's say, maybe take that to the school board and see what we can get out of it. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, I think we're ready for the announcement of our calendar.
Yes, sir. On Friday, September the 19th at 9 a.m. here in council chambers, we have St. Mary's Municipal Court plan arraignments. That first one will be trials. Also, which will be added today after this meeting, is a 10 o'clock a.m. meeting on Friday, September the 19th from the Development Authority of St. Mary's. They will have a work session regarding the DASM Works website, and that will be held at the Ward Hernandez building. Again, that will be Friday, September the 19th at 9 a.m. Followed by the 11 o'clock a.m. St. Mary's Municipal Court plan arraignments here in council chambers. On Tuesday, September the 23rd at 2 o'clock p.m., we'll have a request for proposal construction of the 2 recreational tennis courts here in council chambers. Also on Tuesday, September the 23rd at 3:30 p.m. in the Ward Hernandez building, we'll have the St. Mary's Convention and Visitors Bureau Authority meeting, followed by the 5:30 p.m. Historic Preservation Commission meeting here in council chambers. On Wednesday, October the 1st at 5 o'clock p.m. in the Main Street office is the Development Authority of St. Mary's meeting. On Thursday, October the 2nd at 2 o'clock p.m. in the Planning and Building Conference Room is the Tree Board meeting. And on Friday, October the 3rd at 9 a.m. here in council chambers, we'll have St. Mary's Municipal Court plan arraignments. And on Monday, October the 6th at 6 o'clock p.m., the City Council meeting here in chambers, sir.
All right, thank you, madam. All right, council member comments. Anybody have anything they want to add after this 3.5 hours?
It's past my bedtime. It was
That's
that
good.
Georgia game the other night. I'm still tired.
Never had a doubt.
Ella.
I do want to say that we did have a lot of good citizen comments tonight. And on Nick Harris, his situation at Farm to Family, I mean, I can see where that's a real situation. I know that when Chris at Magic Market, a couple years ago, he actually had to have a request for open houses. Like his parking lot would get flooded during big functions right here across the street, and he had no parking for his customers, and that was a big issue for him. I know that some people criticized him for even saying anything about the school, but that's his private property and his business. And a lot of citizens stood up for Chris, and he's a good person to the community, and he shouldn't lose money because there's a function at the school. The parking should be where it's supposed to be. Now, in Mr. Harris's case, I know that is city parking on the street in front of his business, so he's not 100% entitled to it. But I have noticed that there are signs to use crosswalks there. We may have to actually enforce that because it is a safety concern. There are children that dart across the road. I drive that every morning on the way to work, and I have dodged a child or two that just starts running out across that median, and it is a dangerous spot. We do have student resource officers there, or school resource officers there. I think that we should help Mr. Harris and maybe, give some warnings at first, but just try to deter parents from walking across that median before and after school so they're not encouraged to park in front of his business. I'm sure that's a big time for him. And if he says he's losing money, I don't disagree with him. I'm sure that he is, and it could be, solved if he did have some parking spaces in front of his business. So I think it's something we should take a look at. You know what? That's it. Go Dogs.
What was the reason we couldn't have is it just because it's city parking for everybody that we couldn't have a timer where it, like he mentioned, 15 minutes or? Yeah. And that's not. We're going to look. Okay. Because I thought that was actually the best idea for that.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah.
All right, for report of the mayor, I will echo the Go Dogs. You are some things by heart, even if there are those that aren't. So, but I appreciate everybody, all the comments. Sometimes people don't think that we're listening. There are a lot of things going on, obviously, and we do hear you, and we are trying to address a myriad of problems and issues, and just as the issue with the moratorium today, there are some major problems, that require a lot of time as well. It doesn't mean we're not listening to the individual problems, and as Mr. Daniels spoke about, some of the ongoing issues at some of our housing properties, people are being impacted, and the city's trying to dig in and address some of these things. I appreciate the time and the effort that staff are putting into that, and I know it's not easy. They're tough decisions, and we are working on them, and we always appreciate you reminding us. But progress is slow, and we are making progress. So, and I thank you for that. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Connors. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any? That's unanimous, madam.
Hey, Bert.
Ooh, 3.5 hours. What you got? Oh, yeah.
Y'all did more talking than the citizens, I did.